In 2045, a virtual reality game called Ares developed by AI was launched. Ares was not just an ordinary game. Every character appearing in Ares was integrated with a personality AI that could evaluate and act like a human. Ares was another world, not simply a game with a surreal feel, but a new world created by super AI. A divine entity was born. The god of Ares would judge players and grant them extraordinary abilities depending on their achievements. Players would receive a revelation from the god Ares, gaining special powers, potentially achieving legendary fame, becoming heroes, or building their own forces to claim thrones. In other words, anything possible in real life could be done, and even the impossible could become reality in Ares. Thanks to these features, after the game's release, the reaction to the virtual reality title created by genius Lin exploded. The game not only influenced the gaming industry but also impacted global culture. In a short time, the number of players exceeded 1 billion. The scarred-faced young man is our protagonist, Hyun-soo. Those scars he got in a fire. The scene shifts to Seoul, South Korea, at a hotel. At this moment, a handsome guy is looking at his phone screen and sneering, "Ha, told you so." Are those idiots still clinging to wild dreams? That wooden dummy isn't something you can just smash by brute force. Suddenly, a voice sounded behind him, "Hey, Kim Ji-hoon." Hyun-soo turned and replied, "Ah, you're here." The protagonist continued with a slightly annoyed tone, "You're here my foot, I told you not to call during the day." Hearing that, Ji-hoon grew irritated. "What? So what do you want? You work at night, you can't be called then. I can't even visit your father's ward." Not wanting to argue, the protagonist sat down and got straight to the point. "Alright, what do you want?" Ji-hoon, teasing at Hyun-soo's fully covered outfit, remarked, "Aren't you hot in that?" Hyun-soo said nothing, only pulled down his mask to reveal his scarred face and hissed, "Want to die?" Hearing that, Ji-hoon quickly changed his tone, "Ah, sorry, okay, get to the point. You've heard about Ares too, right?" Hyun-soo hesitated, feigning ignorance, which frustrated Ji-hoon. "Don't tell me you don't know. This is the hottest virtual reality game on the market. Anyway, there's a newbie event in the game. The thing is nobody has claimed the prize yet. Even famous superstars have failed. But if you succeed, you'll get an exclusive reward, a VIP pod worth 50 million. Across from him, Hyun-soo seemed not to understand and asked, "So what?" Ji-hoon smiled enticingly, "Try it, after 9 days you'll be sweating over the idea. 1 billion people have already failed, how could you succeed? Besides, you never even played games." Ji-hoon continued listing the benefits. "Of course the challenge is extremely difficult but not impossible. Besides, if you break that wooden figure, who knows, you might get a chance." Hyun-soo began to sense the matter was not simple, his expression changed, and he asked again, "What do you mean?" Time passed quickly. Ji-hoon led Hyun-soo to a game pod and cheerfully introduced, "I've prepared an Ares pod for you, it costs 10 million. Rest assured, it's standard, about 85% synchronization, according to the manufacturer it won't affect the experience." Hearing that price, Hyun-soo's eyes widened, "What? 10 million, that's embarrassing, 1 billion players, huh?" Ji-hoon shrugged and explained nonchalantly, "It's worth the money. If things go well you'll earn an even bigger reward. Now you can trade for real money, so everyone jumps in." Enough explanation. "Shall we fight then? Want me to try it out first for a bit?" Before Ji-hoon could finish speaking, Hyun-soo clenched his fist and asked coldly, "Hey Kim Ji-hoon, where did you get it?" Ji-hoon didn't explain much and replied lightly, "What's important about that? You should be thinking about how much we can make from it instead." Hyun-soo pressed on, "There's no guarantee we'll make anything, right? What's wrong with you?" Ji-hoon kept smiling, unconcerned about the risks. "What's wrong with me? This is an investment. I told you, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity." Hyun-soo interrupted, "If it's not strange, then what exactly is this opportunity you keep?" Ji-hoon finally said what made him confident, "Listen to me. Inside Ares there's a blacksmith, how about that? Pretty awesome, right? And Hyun-soo, who are you? You're the only son of a world-famous casting master, the sole heir. With your team, what does a wooden dummy even stand for?" At that, Hyun-soo could only sigh, slowly pulled his hood down and said, so that's it, huh? I didn't let you see me clearly after the accident, did I? This is how I am now, I really can't test myself anymore. In front of Ji-hoon was Hyun-soo's scarred face, the scarring reaching the crown so that hair wouldn't grow there. As he said that, Hyun-soo recalled the fire from years ago. He found his father collapsed in the wreckage, ran over in a hurry, threw aside the debris, and carried his father out. That incident took everything from him. He himself survived, but his father never regained consciousness, and the treatment costs were beyond a poor family's means. To make ends meet, Hyun-soo went to work at construction sites. A worker who knew he could use a hammer asked him to help out. Hyun-soo brought a hammer and nails to the table, thinking to himself, 10 years with my father. I swung the forging hammer countless times, but now, even that I can no longer do. At the thought of it, Hyun-soo's face filled with bitterness. His hand trembled involuntarily, and he continued, my right hand has no strength anymore, don't talk about forging. Even construction work is difficult now. I appreciate your kindness, but I'll take care of my own future. Give it back, don't waste 10 million won like that. That idiot of mine is about to start his part-time shift, I'm leaving. Having said that, Hyun-soo stepped to the door. However, before he left, Ji-hoon coldly remarked, who's the idiot now? You think I don't know you struggle each month to pay your father's medical bills? How long do you think you can keep this up? Even if you manage somehow, what about your life? Do you plan to keep living like this forever? Listen to me, this could change everything. The total medical bills are 3 billion won, right? It's an enormous sum, but that doesn't mean you should give up. The friend I know isn't someone like that. You said you wanted to be a blacksmith for life. You can do that in Aries. What is 10 million won? I'll cover it. Just listen to me once. Please, Hyun-soo, try just once, okay? I won't force you anymore, just once. Hearing that, Hyun-soo fell silent. But looking at his trembling right hand, he still couldn't decide. Time passed, and the scene shifted to the construction site. As he carried materials up a floor, the protagonist thought about what Ji-hoon had said, that Ji-hoon really scrambled my head. I have to focus on what I can do right now and quickly earn money to pay for my father's treatment. At that moment, a sudden sound rang out. Hyun-soo turned and saw a worker hammering a nail. That familiar sound brought back old images, the clang of metal echoing in his heart. Cut to, Hyun-soo stood in front of the game pod, silently sighing, at last, I've come. It was the sound of forging that led him, hot flames wrapped around him, sweat running down his body. That familiar metallic tone, I will hear it once more. Dear father, with that message in his head, Hyun-soo stepped into the game pod. Quickly, the system booted up. A mechanical voice sounded in his ear, welcome to the world of Aries. Beginning character creation. Please enter a nickname for your character. Hearing this, Hyun-soo did not hesitate and spoke his real name, Hyun-soo. The system received it, confirmed the creation of a character named Hyun-soo, and began customizing and analyzing his condition. As the sound played, a stream of light enveloped Hyun-soo. Next, the burned scars on his body disappeared. The system confirmed the analysis was complete. Do you want to continue with this appearance? Startled, Hyun-soo stammered, yes. The system finished creating the character and began searching for a server. Ignoring the system messages, Hyun-soo clenched his hand in excitement and muttered, stupid Ji-hoon. Now not only are my scars gone, but the strength in my right hand is back like before. Huh, so I'm 10 million won in debt now, huh. Looks like I'll have to grind hard to pay it back. The system swiftly completed the final confirmations and transferred Hyun-soo to a random domain, the newbie area, Len's Forge in the Budin domain. Inside the forge, an old man put on his gloves and called out, you want me to give up? You damn instructors, just wait and see me show you who I am. I'll forge a sword far beyond that pitiful trash. After saying that, he repeatedly struck his hammer against the steel billet before him. The more he hammered, the angrier he became, shouting, damn it. At that moment, Hyun-soo's voice rang out, you're doing it wrong. The smith was startled. He turned his head and said, what? Who's there? Did someone from outside just say something? Hyun-soo repeated, you can't do it like that. A skeptical voice in the small house replied, what? Truly the son's name. Hyun-soo calmly explained, it seems you're trying to forge a sword, but you can't make a strong sword that way. The smith turned to look at him with a slightly disdainful gaze and challenged, you don't look like you're from here, what do you know to say that? Hyun-soo frowned slightly and replied modestly, I know I'm overstepping, but it looks like you really want to make a good sword. I can't stand by and ignore it. The blacksmith, drenched in sweat from the heat, sneered, can't just stand by and watch. You speak as if you know exactly how to do it. Saying that, he picked up the hammer and moved toward Hyun-soo. Fine, what do I have to lose? The blacksmith thrust the hammer forward, challenging, then show me what you can do. He regarded him, his voice lowering, do you actually have the skill? I'll be watching you closely. Hyun-soo lifted the hammer, briefly lowered his eyes, and fell silent. In his mind he thought, my original plan was to build a relationship and then borrow the forge, this isn't a bad turn of events. He exhaled and said, I have a favor to ask in return. The blacksmith asked curiously, a favor? Hyun-soo answered, yes. If I can prove my craftsmanship, please let me forge a sword for myself. He looked him in the eye earnestly, in return, I'll show you a process worth that value. The blacksmith frowned and growled, you're awfully confident, aren't you? Still, he laughed and turned away, all right, let's hope that confidence lasts. Having said that, he lowered his voice, put on a dangerous expression, sat on a wooden stool, and glared at Hyun-soo threateningly, if you fail to deliver, you'll pay for that arrogance. Hyun-soo didn't flinch and replied firmly, of course. Time passed, the iron heated in the fire was nearly shaped. Hyun-soo stood beside it with the hammer, watching intently, thinking, how long has it been? 3 years, right? Though I act confident, I'm not sure I can do it as well as before. With that thought, he swung the hammer hard, and without hesitation struck the iron, this feeling, I can still do it. Sparks flew incessantly from the friction, iron dust bursting into flame. Images of his father and close friends appeared vividly in his mind. He kept striking the hammer down, just wait a little longer. His gaze was full of resolve, like the blazing fire before him. Long dormant senses were awakening. The clash of metal and the scorching heat brushed his skin. Hyun-soo curled his lips in a satisfied smile, feeling something worth celebrating. The iron being forged suddenly radiated a powerful aura, his body still remembered. Hyun-soo didn't stop and continued hammering, I can do this. The blacksmith, sitting at a distance, snorted coldly and thought, an outsider, probably just clumsy imitation, but his posture is pretty good, isn't it? I feel like I've seen him somewhere before. The blacksmith thought for a while but couldn't recall, and gave up, likely that's all there is to it. He looked at Hyun-soo's enamored face in puzzlement, what is he so happy about? But the more he watched, the more satisfied he became, thinking, enjoyment won't change anything. To survive here, results are everything. If you don't have outstanding skill, your limits are already set. Thinking that, he muttered, I'll let him try, maybe I'll learn something. But there's no way he has forging skill in the newbie area, what a waste of time. Then he was suddenly startled by the scene before him. Ha! Over there, Hyun-soo was still diligently forging the sword. The blacksmith saw the blade's tip bent from the blows and was alarmed. What the? Then he saw Hyun-soo bend that warped section back and, without hesitation, hammer down hard. The blacksmith suddenly sat up straight, watching his movements and wondering, is he reheating and refining it again? That could be a way to increase durability by removing impurities. His eyes widened, why didn't I think of such a simple method? But would it really work? A golden spark flashed in his eyes, it might just be a trick, I have the skill to appraise item grades. He used his ability to assess it, the steel improved from grade D to grade C. The blacksmith couldn't help but jump to his feet, impossible. His eyes widened and sweat ran down in tension. I've made grade C items before, but I've never seen a level rise this fast. The blacksmith looked at Hyun-soo, smiling as he lifted the iron, so he wasn't bluffing, but this must be his limit. His hand clenched, there's no way he'll rank any higher. Keep hammering, even with a few flashy tricks, if he lacks skills in this world he's no different from me. The next morning, birdsong rang through the forest. The little house remained quiet. The blacksmith propped himself up, rubbed his eyes and muttered, did I oversleep? That fellow kept me up late. Then he was startled in amazement. In front of him, Hyun-soo was still tirelessly hammering. What? He's still at it. The blacksmith couldn't believe it, stunned with his mouth agape. The iron hammer rang non-stop, the bent steel still glowing red. Hyun-soo smiled calmly, rhythmically striking the burning metal's tip. His eyes were full of passion and joy, and now his focus was solely the glowing steel before him. Hyun-soo hammered, then plunged the steel head back into the fire. The blacksmith watched him continue dunking the steel into water, incredulous. Does he not know what tiredness is? He sobered, no longer showing any disdain. Has he repeated that process all night? At that moment, Hyun-soo lifted the steel and a brilliant radiance emanated from the blade. The blacksmith inspected it closely as it turned golden with the notification Grade B steel. He silently shouted inside, "No way. Grade B." Cold sweat broke out. He stared at Hyun-soo and thought, can he really do it? Reaching Grade B without any skills, and he's still not stopping. Does that mean he's aiming even higher? At that moment, Hyun-soo closed one eye to better assess the steel's quality. His fingers gently stroked the blade. Then he covered his face in disappointment and muttered, "Damn it, it's been so long since I forged, am I overdoing it?" While Hyun-soo was still hesitating, the blacksmith next to him picked up the steel with tongs. He glanced and suggested, "If you tell me what you're planning to do, maybe I can help a little." Hyun-soo smiled happily and replied, "Thank you." The little house fell back into silence and heat. Beside the hearth, Hyun-soo and the blacksmith worked together forging the steel. It gradually took shape in their hands. Hyun-soo lifted it to inspect carefully, while the blacksmith recorded the process in writing. Outside, the sky grew dim again. The blacksmith widened his eyes in astonishment at the finished product before him. He held the steel in his hands and shouted excitedly, "Unbelievable, Grade A. With this, you could forge a rare-class sword. I can't believe this is happening." The blacksmith laughed heartily and turned to Hyun-soo, "I have the skill to see item grades. Though it's nothing special, I've never seen magical grade items in the newbie area, let alone rare ones." He was excited like a child, chattering non-stop, "With this, you can create a one-of-a-kind sword. Aren't you happy?" Hyun-soo bent over his work, and calmly replied, "It's too early to be joyful." The blacksmith's smile faded. He looked at him in surprise. "What?" Hyun-soo held up a piece of wood and remarked with a sidelong glance, "I still have to finish the hilt, and the blade needs to be sharpened further." His eyes burned with passion. Seeing the blacksmith's puzzled face, he continued, "It has to be made to withstand great force without bending. The blade isn't at its sharpest yet." Hearing that, the blacksmith burst into laughter. "I've never met an outsider like you." Hyun-soo lightly admitted, "I've loved smithing since I was a child." The blacksmith asked curiously, "You said you'll forge a sword and take it with you, right?" He answered, "Yes." The blacksmith fell silent and produced a stone that glowed green. He glanced at it and smiled softly, "Then try making one with this." Hyun-soo turned, puzzled, "Make what again?" He looked at the stone in the blacksmith's hand, seemingly recognizing it. "Is that?" The blacksmith answered seriously, "Mithril ore. It's a family heirloom passed down through generations." Hyun-soo took the stone from his hand. "Why are you giving this to me?" The blacksmith smiled with trust, "Because I've learned a lot from you and want to learn more. Besides, this ore is beyond my ability to process. I want to see what kind of sword you'd forge from this mineral. I'm very curious." Hyun-soo fell silent and stared at the glowing green stone. He thought to himself, "Mithril ore, this doesn't exist in the real world." The corner of his mouth curled slightly. He hadn't expected to one day forge a weapon from the legendary ore he'd only read about in novels. This is a gamble, I've never worked it before. Thinking that, he looked up at the blacksmith. "I don't think I can pass up this opportunity." The man laughed loudly, satisfied, "I knew you'd say that. Can I help and learn a few things?" He assured him, "Of course, after you gave me something so precious." The blacksmith grew even more enthusiastic. "Then may I call you master? If you want formality, I'll speak properly." Hyun-soo awkwardly refused, "No way, you're clearly lived several lifetimes longer than me." The blacksmith teased him, laughing, "Age doesn't matter, please take me as your apprentice." From inside the little house in the woods came Hyun-soo's exasperated voice, "Come on, stop, what are you saying? If you call me that, I won't use the mithril." Immediately followed by the blacksmith's angry shout, "Don't say that, you brat." 1 month later, cut to the newbie area of As Village, where players level 1 to 10 gathered. At that moment, a brown-haired guy stared at his hands in astonishment and exclaimed, "So real-world physique and abilities transfer into the game, no wonder you can only customize appearance. Nearby, a hooded friend who seemed to have noticed something prompted, "Hey, look, this must be it, right? The event has existed since Ares launched, break the wooden dummy with 10 hits." A seemingly simple challenge had been attempted by 1.2 billion people and all failed. If successful, you'd receive a VIP game slot worth 50 million G and plus 5 to all stats. Hearing that, the brown-haired guy squinted to observe and remarked, 10 hits are more than enough to break it. In response came the hooded guy's bored sound, "Forget it. These days hardly anyone even dares to try." National athletes took turns and failed, even gold medalist Hanyu failed. Everyone thought it was impossible. The burly brown-haired guy was astonished, "No way. If even Hanyu couldn't do it, didn't they program it to be unbeatable?" The smaller friend shrugged, "That's why there's so much speculation about it." Then the burly guy asked again, "But why is everyone just standing there instead of trying?" The smaller friend replied, Because today is the last hope of humanity." Before he could explain further, a voice sounded from behind, "Excuse me, could you let me through?" The smaller guy turned around, and immediately saw a hefty man like a wrestler with a fierce look. Those around recognized him and shouted, "Oh my, he's here, the strongest of the primates, Mad Ox." Mad Ox spread his arms and glared ahead menacingly. So this is the dummy even Hanyu failed against. Nearby, people only dared to breathe easier once he passed. "My god, he's huge, doesn't even look human anymore. I've heard he once felled a bear with his bare hands. Why does the wooden dummy look so small? Maybe he'll succeed before his 10 hits are up." Ignoring the chatter, Mad Ox stepped up to the wooden figure and took a stance. "Alright, that 50 million gun VIP slot will be mine." With that, he swung his gigantic fist at the dummy, making it tremble violently. Spectators cheered excitedly, "Look, the dummy's been pushed back so hard, could someone finally succeed?" At the same time, in the game's control room, TC Ox asked his assistant, "What do you think?" Assistant Lai replied wearily, "Think? We should be hoping he succeeds. If we get another complaint, we're doomed. If even Hanyu failed and this guy can't complete it, it'll be a big deal. They'll say we created an impossible mission just to draw attention. That Ares only highlights a player to profit. Tomorrow the press will be all over this." Those words gave TC Ox pause. He nodded and said, "So if he fails, we'll need to intervene in the Ares system unusually. But will the director accept that?" Assistant Lai immediately shifted responsibility, "That's something the team leader has to handle." TC Ox stammered, "A team leader like me, how could I?" Before he could finish, Lai turned away, "I don't know, if it goes wrong I'm quitting." Then, unexpectedly, even Mad Ox failed to complete the challenge. A failure notification sounded, and the man collapsed to the ground in disappointment, while TC Ox could only lament, "We're done for." Beside him, Assistant Lai began calculating her escape. "I'll find a place to hide before the complaints come. Also, buy me dinner while you're at it." Hearing that, TC Ox coaxed, "If I buy dinner, you won't quit, right?" Lai replied, "Let me see the menu first." As the two were about to leave, another team member suddenly shouted, "Wait, team leader, there's a new challenger coming up." By now TC Ox was indifferent to such incidents, so what if he can complete it? "Look at him, do you think he can do it?" On the screen appeared the familiar figure of Hyun Susu, carrying a long sword wrapped in cloth. Assistant Lai adjusted her glasses and quickly recognized, that's the default outfit when creating a character. The system changes clothing after defeating 10 level 1 monsters, but the weapon looks purchased. Many people believed spending money would help them beat it, yet all have failed. The bespectacled guy panicked and said, "I'm sorry, I spoke out of turn." Team leader TCOC waved his hand, "It's fine, I also thought maybe someone would succeed. Well, I'll go have dinner and come back." With that said, they were about to leave when suddenly a loud noise rang out, forcing both to stop and turn to look. What was that? Why so loud? Before the sentence finished, in TCOC's line of sight, the supposedly indestructible dummy had just been cleaved in two by a sword. A system announcement immediately appeared, "World Notice, congratulations, you are the first player to successfully destroy the wooden dummy. All stats +5. You gain plus 200 fame. At this, team leader TCOC was so shocked he dropped the cup in his hand. This is crazy. What is that? Who is that? Someone with that kind of power and still around? He asked, but Lai countered, no, Mad Ox was the last one, it's probably just a normal player. Beside him, TCOC began to realize something and waved his hand. Wait, that sword. Quick, look up its rank. Assistant Lai hurriedly typed at the computer. Very quickly, she finished checking the information, and turned, flustered, team leader, the result is strange. TCOC's face went pale, no need to say, I've already noticed. Assistant Lai repeated, that's right, but its rank is top tier. The screen shows Radiant Bright Sword, top tier, durability 3000, attack 143, no restriction for weapon crafters, requirement level 40 and above. After reading that, TCOC's face also turned ashen, top tier. Just who is that guy, really? A short while later, at the BOOM Inner Control Center, a murmur arose as the two watched Hyun Soo appear on the large screen. So you're saying he just logged into AZ, went straight to the smithy, and beat the wooden dummy with a sword forged from the mithril he took there? TCOC folded his arms and praised in a long tone, no matter how many times I see it, it's astonishing. How did he do that? Deputy Manager Lai at the control desk replied softly, you should get back to work, don't just sit there gawking, you'll be queued up. She then focused on the keyboard in front of her. TCOC took a sip of water and said, I just took a break because I'm so frustrated, I couldn't find any more information. Deputy Manager Lai opened his info card on the screen, name Kong Hyun Susu, age 23, currently living in a studio apartment in U Ward. Confirmed logged in from an acquaintance's house. TCOC shouted excitedly, you found him? That's Deputy Manager Lai for you. She replied, unruffled, I already knew his location in Aries, I was just reading his personal info to you because he just applied for Seoul privileges. After that, in the modern room the two exchanged, an application. I thought he wouldn't apply, there's been no news. Lai answered, he just sent it. However, he insisted that his real-life information be kept confidential. At this, TCOC suddenly broke into a sweat and asked, glancing, what? He wants to remain anonymous. Deputy Manager Lai pushed up her glasses, yes, he's very determined, no clear reason given. She looked back up at the large screen, admiring Hyun Soo, if this got out, he'd become a star in real life. TCOC agreed in a low voice, yeah, he probably has his reasons for staying hidden. He looked at Hyun Soo's startled face and then asked, so where is he right now? Deputy Manager Lai hesitated, about that, it seems he's just entered the hunting training grounds. Just as Hyun Soo, dressed in black, pushed the door open, someone inside called out, hey kid, from here on out real monsters will appear. He looked at Hyun Soo, who was only level 1, and said coldly, sorry, but I can see your level. This isn't a test a level 1 person can pass alone. The speaker was Jensen, the hunting grounds instructor. I don't want to waste time, so go back, at least hunt a few rabbits around here and come back later. Hyun Soo thought to himself, he can't see my stats, right? He removed his hood and replied, I'll try not to waste your time. Renson folded his arms and sighed irritably, fine, then grab any sword over there and bring it here. Hyun Soo slowly drew out a sword inlaid with a light green stone, if any sword will do. Would it be okay if I used my own sword? Elsewhere, news that the protagonist had cleaved the dummy had quickly reached Lai Xian. He spent a month in the newbie village, which normally takes 30 minutes to clear, so he accumulated extraordinary base stats. Most importantly, he possesses the only executioner-grade sword in the newbie village. He still has no class and is only level 1. I've overseen countless master craftsmen and pro players, but what's happening now truly surpasses imagination. Should we just hand everything over to this world's god and not intervene? Let the super AI handle it. In response, Genius Lai Xian only smiled faintly, you're worried about that too, team leader Kim TC. But right now he's still in the newbie village, perhaps unaware of the fate awaiting him. Just watch and see how far he can go. Back in the training room, Renan frowned displeased, that kid intends to use his own sword. He inspected the handmade sword, are you planning to become a blacksmith? The corner of his mouth curled up, his tone full of contempt, choosing such a pathetic profession, what a pitiful soul. Hyun-soo just looked at him without answering. He continued, this place is very dangerous, monsters surround you on 3 sides. A properly trained swordsman is worth more than a mediocre piece of equipment. So what is someone who chose the blacksmith class doing here? The system announced. Favorability of instructor Jensen decreased by 10. Hyun-soo closed his eyes slightly. This was the reaction he'd seen in the real world. Being a blacksmith was essentially a useless dream. But in Ares, he believed that effort deserved recognition. He spoke up, who are you? Hyun-soo looked at him, of all the swordsmen who've gone through this training ground, who is the most skilled? He continued, I want to be tested more rigorously than they were. Jensen gritted his teeth. Perhaps he was growing hollow as an instructor at the Budin domain hunting grounds. He eyed Hyun-soo warily, though he had a keen eye after training so many people. Jensen snapped angrily, how dare a newbie speak with such arrogance? The system immediately notified, Instructor Jensen has been provoked. He responded, all right, it might be interesting to see you try. A challenge was issued. Jensen turned, follow me. He explained, my duty is to teach newcomers the basics and conduct a verification test. But I also give a special challenge to a few exceptionally outstanding individuals. His voice deepened, the current record at the training ground is the 3rd state challenge. In front of Hyun-soo, a pack of 6 swift goblins was snarling fiercely. Jensen glanced over, do you really want to try this? Because you insist on taking this reckless challenge, the cost of failure will be steep. If you fail, don't expect to come near here for a week, go hunt rabbits. Understand? Hyun-soo asked back, is the 3rd state challenge the last one? He widened his eyes, what? He replied calmly, I want to complete them all. Jensen snapped angrily, going to the final state in one go, this kid is really driving me crazy. He cleared his throat, very well, charge in and try. The system announced, 4th state, final. The furious level, 15 frenzied goblin monsters rushed forward. Hyun-soo stood firm, his gaze resolute. Across the world, very few complete State 3 at training grounds. As for State 4, no one has ever passed it. He raised his sword, ready to face it. The goblin pack roared in unison and charged. With the wind whistling, he assumed a defensive stance. As the first blade slashed in, he immediately blocked it with his sword. Another one lunged, pointing a razor-sharp spear straight at him. Hyun-soo braced himself, any blacksmith would understand. His whole body radiated a powerful presence, the sword in his hand trembling. System message, Radiant Sword, active skill sword fortitude, plus 12% physical attack and plus 8% physical defense for 40 seconds. He tightened his grip on the hilt, drawing on the weapon's full power. In an instant, Hyun-soo felled several foes. No weapon can defeat my sword. System, Swift Goblin number 1 has been defeated. Suddenly, from afar, a blade like lightning hurtled toward him. A frenzied goblin wildly brought down a strike. Catching him off guard, he was hit. Jensen curled his lip, just as I thought, he took a critical hit immediately. That's why the Swift Goblin is a nightmare for newbies. He sighed, no matter how good the gear, without skill. But before he could finish, he froze. What? Hyun-soo gritted his teeth, clutching his abdomen and enduring. The pain felt vivid. A level 1 still alive after a critical hit. He thought to himself, thankfully from focusing on forging weapons all month. Strength 35, stamina 33, I did raise strength and stamina, even if agility didn't increase. Jensen stepped back, feeling the real danger was just beginning. The frenzied goblins screamed, charging thunderously and unleashing the frenzy spine attack. Hundreds of sharp spines shot out like rain. Hyun-soo fell into a stunned state, his vision blurring, breath quickening. Jensen murmured, this kid is amazing, but this is truly his limit. It's over. 2 other goblins leapt in. He struggled to stand firm, trusting in the weapon he had crafted. Eyes blazing, I just need to do what I can. The goblins charged with a loud cry. The system announced, Executioner Grade Radiant Sword, Passive Skill Speed Blade, temporarily increasing attack speed by 1.7 times for 1 second. For a split second, he became a streak of light, streaking through them. He exhaled softly, even if I'm far lower in level, I'll still prevail. That moment left all the onlookers stunned. TCOC and Deputy Manager Lai were almost frozen. While Jensen stood with his mouth agape, goblin corpses were flung everywhere, his eyes full of killing intent. System message, frenzied goblin defeated, swift goblin defeated. Jensen rasped, this kid, he did what no one else could. He looked at him with admiration, though clumsy, those were strikes that maximized the sword's power. You must have learned swordsmanship somewhere. Hyun-soo replied, I was taught that a blacksmith must personally wield the weapons they make. That's all. Jensen paused slightly. System display. Jensen notices something. He narrowed his eyes to observe, then commented on the muscles and scars on his arms. I see now. Jensen exclaimed, so this is a true blacksmith. I sincerely apologize for my rudeness. System. Jensen's favorability has reached the maximum. Jensen looked at him with respect. Would you be willing to hear my proposal? I say this because I truly value your talent. Have you ever considered becoming the Lord of Berserk? System notification. You can start the legendary class transfer quest Lord of Berserk. TCOC exclaimed, no way, unbelievable. He was astonished that someone like this would receive a legendary class transfer quest, even surpassing Knights and the brutal executioner class. Deputy Manager Lai added, that alone would make him a special tier 2 management player, right? TCOC nodded, that's good, it's really very good. But he frowned, once he accepts the class transfer quest, he won't be able to return. Meanwhile, Jensen said with burning eyes, the Lord of Berserk is a glorious entity commanding hundreds of Berserk Knights. You would become a true guardian of the world. What do you think? This is not an offer I make lightly. I'm certain you could become the King of Knights. Hyun-soo replied gently, thank you for the offer, but I must decline. He added, his eyes brightening, not a knight, I am a blacksmith. He smiled softly. TCOC and Deputy Manager Lai both breathed a sigh of relief and wore satisfied smiles. Jensen nodded, I understand. He laughed heartily, you are extraordinary, truly extraordinary. Hyun-soo clenched his hand, I once thought I'd never hold a hammer again, but in this game, I can feel it. He was satisfied that his blacksmith career was truly beginning a new chapter. System announced, hidden quest, meet a B-rank lord, description, meet Lord Bedin. While he was still pondering, Jensen handed him a letter, then this is my letter of recommendation. Go to the Lord's castle. Someone is waiting there for an old blacksmith like you. Reward for the challenge, I will give you a set of armor once worn by the Lord of Berserk. It's rusted and lost its power, but I believe you will know how to make use of it. He beamed, try yourself there as well. Take on those seemingly impossible tasks that others cannot complete. I know you can do it. Hyun-soo scratched his head awkwardly, I'll do my best. At the company, Deputy Manager Lai rejoiced, finally, player Hyun-soo has conquered the biggest challenge. TCOC nodded, yes, even if just a little, his potential has returned. He looked up at the screen, the pinnacle of smithing had appeared, the ability to pre-register for the Divine Blacksmith class. He walked past the training area and then entered the Fief's village. Main quest accepted, the tutorial ends here. At last, everything truly begins. He set off on a new journey. Meanwhile, Hyun-soo appeared in a different scene bathed in dim light. He logged out. He sighed, right, I need to pay for gas. There are some things I have to handle in the real world. He took out his phone, thinking, I've gotten used to this game and confirmed its potential. But my account balance is too low, I need to pay my father's hospital bills and living expenses. Just then, the phone rang. Ji-hoon called, did you clear the hunting training area? I was too busy to log in. He replied softly, I just accepted a quest and entered the Fief's village. On the other end, Ji-hoon exclaimed, really? Awesome. Now you can use the auction house, so go check it out first. He asked in surprise, auction house? Ji-hoon explained, you can craft gear and essential items in the game, then sell them at the auction house for gold. 10 gold equals 10,000 G. Real money trading is so active that many treat it as a full-time job. That's the real reason I dragged you into Ares. Ji-hoon added, do you know what I noticed while playing? I've never seen anything as beautiful as the swords you and my father made. He laughed and continued, see. I told you. It will work out. Once you upgrade to the VIP slot with 99.9% sync, it'll be even cooler. Come on, start listing the masterpieces of the world's #1 craftsman. He curled the corner of his mouth and smiled, thanks. After that, he went to a diner, eating while thinking, right, I've clearly seen the path I must take. While eating, Hyun-soo privately vowed, I need to focus more on crafting and completing quests to earn gold. To do that, I must manage my stamina well. After eating, he went for a run. It's nothing compared to real-life forge work, but this game also consumes a lot of stamina. He trained enthusiastically, panting, just wait a little longer. Dad, he told himself, I'll wake you up no matter what it takes. At that moment, the system announced, departing to the world Ares. You have entered Bedouin territory and are accessing the auction house. Please name your shop to list items. He murmured, Hun's Forge. A moment later, he stepped into another place. Hyun-soo looked up. Floating in the sky was a gigantic scales of justice. The system continued, Hun's Forge is being constructed. A blue light filled the space. From now on, you can use the auction board anytime, anywhere. He looked around, wondering what to sell first. Besides the radiant sword, I only have one test blade made at the novice village forge. He thought to himself, if similar rare swords with comparable level caps go for about 70 gold. Hun's first sword, rare, requires level 1 to 30, attack power 36, durability 1000/1000, special stats, strength +2, agility +1, active skill, draw sword. Description: the best sword a level 1 player can use, made from the most basic materials. He thought, I shouldn't sell it too cheap. Maybe I'll list it for 100 gold. Hyun-soo hoped. Alright, hopefully there will be good news. While waiting, he took the opportunity to learn more about the village's systems. After listing the sword for sale, elsewhere, the bespectacled guy gasped, and others widened their eyes. What the? They stared at the sword. A girl spoke up, a level 1 crafted item. Another exclaimed, he can craft this and still hasn't chosen a class. Strange. A man commented, put that aside for now. Everyone's admiring gaze turned to the auction board. Why is the bid price still going up? Hun's Forge, first sword, rare, requires level 1 to 30, attack 36, durability 1000/1000, strength +2, agility +1, active skill, draw sword. Description: the best sword a level 1 player can use, made from the most basic materials. Current bid, 100 gold. In another corner, Bo Lam said, Vice Guildmaster, have you seen this item? It's absolutely crazy. The Vice Guildmaster of the Iron Shield Guild pondered. Bo Lam continued, I heard the creator of this sword is only level 1 and hasn't picked a class. Everyone's going wild, saying he made the best sword from basic materials, and it even has enhancement stats. The Vice Guildmaster replied, when it comes to enhancing gear, the lower the crafting material level, the higher the success rate. Bo Lam nodded, he probably used same-tier materials to save on costs. The Vice Guildmaster praised, with such a small investment, that person can easily reach level 50. I don't know who they are, but it's clever. Bo Lam smiled, it even has its own name. The first sword. This is likely the first piece in the maker's collection. At level 1. A skill like this is truly valuable. What do you think? The Vice Guildmaster replied curtly, worth it. Bo Lam understood, that will boost our prestige, since we'll be the ones who recognized and bought his first masterpiece. The Vice Guildmaster nodded, as expected, you're top-notch, proceed. At the same time, Hyun-soo's face flushed. Embarrassed inside, now that I've listed it, I feel so ashamed. It was just to practice smithing again after a long time and to get familiar with the game. What if it doesn't sell? At that moment the system announced, your listed item, Hun's first sword, has been sold. Transaction complete. The system granted him an adventure log to view the item. He froze. What? It's already sold. Hyun-soo was stunned, isn't 100 gold a high price? How much did it sell for? When he saw the number that appeared, his eyes widened and he shouted excitedly, 1001 gold. His face lit up, this is insane. He wondered, who was the buyer? Winning bidder, Bo Lam, Iron Shield Guild. The Iron Shield Guild. A new message appeared, hello, I'm Bo Lam from the Iron Shield Guild. It's an honor to have purchased Hun's first item. Our guild's doors are always open to talented individuals. Please contact us if you are interested in an exclusive contract or joining the guild. He thought to himself, the Iron Shield Guild. After opening the guild info, he was surprised. This guild has 780,000 followers. He recalled Jae Hun's words, gaining followers is harder than leveling up. Having many followers means many people are interested, and that interest can directly turn into profit. He reflected, right now, Hun's Forge only has 82 followers. At that moment, his mailbox showed a new message. Recruitment invitations fluttered around him. Hello, this is the Guild of Truth. Guild G also wants to invite you. Hun, we want to recruit you into our guild. We will support you fully, join our guild. Captain Hammer's guild is an option you won't regret. The recruitment invitations from various guilds kept pouring in. The system announced, Ares awaits as blacksmiths gradually disappear from the real world. A blinding light opens a new door. He pondered, the value of a craftsman's skills. Here will shine the brightest, because everything is seen through precise data and numbers. Now is not the time to join a guild. He walked slowly toward the Lord's castle, determined, I haven't even shown half of my skills yet. The reckoning of my worth starts now. Inside the castle, a conversation echoed. Ben, is this really impossible? Lord Budden frowned. Ben smiled and replied, yes, my lord. He knelt, the restoration process could fail, so not only do we risk not restoring it, we could lose it forever. Budden said gravely, that's why we must find the continent's best restoration expert for this job. Ben answered, and that expert can only be found in the capital center. Yes, but due to his difficult nature, he refuses to meet anyone. Moreover, if you want to bring him to Budden territory then. Budden interrupted, I've heard that too, but I cannot abandon my duties in a fief and go. Ben looked down, speaking softly. But this is the only memento my father left, an unparalleled bow the likes of which no one has seen. I suppose there's no other option. Ben thought smugly, soon, I've worked hard for a week to gain Lord Budden's trust. Now it's time to claim the rightful reward. An info panel appeared, User Ben, Level 100, Class, Transcendent Thief Beyond Limits, currently disguised as a blacksmith. Skill, Promise down. Now is the time to claim the reward. Ben cheerfully, if so, then the 300 gold needed for the restoration. Ben immediately said, yes, if you hand the bow to me, I'll take it to the capital and ensure. Before he could finish, a strange voice rang out, I can restore it. The door opened, and Hyun-soo stepped in and spoke. That bow, you say it can be restored right here. At the sight of him, Ben's eyes flashed with anger. Who is this dog to dare ruin my perfect plan? Ben asked suspiciously, what did you say? You can restore it. He frowned slightly. He lowered his voice and asked, my burnt bow. Then he turned and said sternly, guards, who is this person? Immediately, a soldier hurried forward, yes, my lord. He is the one who brought a letter of introduction from trainer Jensen. Ben was briefly surprised. Rensen asked, you mean Jensen from the novice hunting training area? Hearing that, Budden asked, as Lord of Budden, I request one thing, tell me your skills and experience. The system notified, Lord Budden requests information about your class and rank. He calmly replied, my name is Hyun-soo. I'm currently only LV1 and have no class. Ben shouted in astonishment, that's ridiculous. A level 1 who dares to be arrogant before the Lord. He sneered, noting he didn't even have a class. Don't you know restoration is a skill only learned by blacksmiths at LV8? He ground his teeth and growled, do you realize you're looking at a reflection class execution bow? Get out. Don't ruin the work I've prepared all week. Hyun-soo merely smirked, you're wrong. He slowly bent down to inspect the bow. This bow is not a reflection class bow, but a type called GAC Gung. The blacksmith frowned, GAC Gung. The guards widened their eyes in surprise. While Budden was silent, his gaze quietly watching Hyun-soo's every movement. He continued, I heard the situation from the guards. You are trying to restore the bow my late father left after it was burned. He touched the broken wood, noting the bow's unique shape never before seen in this region. Budden waved his hand softly, enough. Budden inhaled deeply, his eyes cold. I try to be generous to strangers in my fief, but I'm tired of the baseless nonsense surrounding this relic. He lowered his voice to warn, from now on you'd best only say what you can be held accountable for. Hyun-soo's eyes brightened with resolve. I want to confirm one thing, this bow, though it has a unique form given by a stranger. Isn't it actually crafted right here in this fief? The question shook him momentarily. He frowned slightly and added, on the way into the great hall, I saw a painting of beasts resembling the tween-gu. He paused for a few seconds and continued, in my world, the horn of the tween-gu is also considered an extremely special material. He picked up the bowstring, however, the strange thing is the bow's curvature. Instead of the usual ox sinew, it uses whale sinew. Can you explain that? Budin's gaze softened. You're right, that guest was a friend of my father and also a smith. He recounted slowly, the painting you saw depicts the migration of a herd called the Great Tween-gu, the Great Tween-gu's horn and whale sinew. Both are treasures found in Budin's swamps and ports. He used the rarest materials from here as a gift for my father. Budin looked at him with admiration. You can see through material secrets that even an LV-100 smith can't distinguish. Ben clenched his lips. Budin sighed heavily. I cannot let this relic rot away with the years. I'm so desperate that given the chance I'd entrust it to anyone. Hyunksu, is it? If you're willing, please take responsibility for restoring this relic. The system announced, accepted the restoration quest chain for Lord Budin's GAC Gung, Grade A, reward 500 gold. He gestured to Ben, you may step back, I'll call on you if needed. The man reluctantly agreed, ah yes, I understand. But inside he seethed, who the hell is that bastard anyway? Ben, displeased, turned away, his name is Hyun Sosu. Just wait, I'll settle this with you someday. As he left, he kept throwing angry glances at him. Budin asked, so what is needed to restore this bow? Hyun Su replied, if possible, find me great tween-gu horn and whale sinew. I also need oak, mulberry wood, bamboo, and working tools. Immediately, the system announced you had seen through all the materials of the bow. Then he began to learn, you have acquired the method to restore a shooter's GAC gun. The shooter's GAC gun restoration cap is level 60. Restoration materials include great tween-gu horn, whale sinew, bamboo, and mulberry wood. Oak can be substituted with other materials. If the restoration rate is below 70%, the item will be destroyed on failure. A flood of memories suddenly rose. Father, I just need to bend it like this, then fix it in place, right? His father's gentle voice echoed, I told you, you can let me do it. He gently ruffled his hair, son, do you really love making bows that much? Your hands are all scratched, yet you're still so passionate. Hyun Su smiled, I like making anything, as long as I'm with father. His father softened, when you grow a bit, I'll teach you the smithing trade, okay? For now you need to get used to handling materials. He replied softly, yes, father. A tear slipped down his cheek. He whispered, father, wait for me. He silently analyzed the VIP chamber's 99.9% synchronization rate with the feeling in his hands at that moment. I can craft it perfectly just as father taught me. After that he went to the forge. The next morning, Budin came in. Eagerly, I'll give you a hand as well. Night fell, and the two plunged into work together. The sound of hammering rang through the night. Hyun Su carefully carved each grain of wood with an axe. Then bent the bow frame. Afterwards bound it tightly with cord and heated it over the fire. The glow of embers illuminating every bead of sweat on his brow. Budin wiped his sweat, thinking to himself that working all day wasn't easy and his strength was draining. He looked at him and couldn't help but smile, murmuring, just seeing that radiant smile gives me more resolve. The next morning, he was weary, his gaze heavy, surprised that he'd had to toil so hard all week. Budin collapsed to the ground, can't I go back now? Hyun Su replied softly, sir, you must stay to continue helping finish the bow. He looked up with sincere eyes, the reason you come to the forge every day, my lord, is because you want to restore your father's relic with your own hands, isn't it? Budin smiled faintly, that's right. He sat up. That bow is the only thing left that holds memories of my father. He looked at him and said softly, Hyun Su, what about you? You seem very happy making that GAC gung. Hyun Su was silent for a moment, the corner of his mouth lifting slightly. That's true. I also have many fond memories. He breathed slowly, realizing that restoring memories would take more time and effort. Budin nodded and squeezed his hand. I understand. 10 days passed, and they worked without rest. 15 days later, the bow's form was gradually emerging. Finally, after 20 days, their shirts soaked with sweat, but their eyes still shone with faith. On the final day he exclaimed, finally, the shooter's GAC gun was complete. Hero Grade Execution Class, Shooter's GAC gun durability 3500/3500, damage 253, required level 80, special properties, agility plus 0.9%, accuracy plus 22%, bow firing speed plus 17%, mastery grants 1 passive skill, true shot wind, active skill, triple volley. The shooter's GAC gun was reborn with exquisite, extraordinary craftsmanship, surpassing even its original maker. Budin went outside and approached his father's statue. "Father, are you watching?" He was moved to tears. A mysterious stranger had repaired the bow just as in the old days. He said softly, "Please try and see if the feeling is still like breathing." Budin nodded, raised the bow, drew the string carefully, and released. The arrow shot forward, piercing straight through the bullseye. He froze, stunned, unlike before. A moment later, Budin's face lit up. It has become a bow superior even to its former self. System notice: you have completed the GAC gun restoration quest. You have successfully restored it beyond 100%. Favor with Lord Budin has reached its maximum. He rejoiced inwardly, truly relieved. Budin turned, voice trembling with emotion, "Thank you, Hyun Su Su. Now I can devote myself fully to the fief." He magnanimously said, "However, the reward I originally promised is far too modest compared to your achievement. Therefore, I will grant you an additional 2,000 gold." The system immediately displayed, "Quest reward upgraded due to your extraordinary achievement." Budin said he would allow you free use of the fief's forge. Hyun Su was momentarily stunned, 2,000 gold. He was delighted, thinking he could easily cover living expenses until his next journey with that money. He looked at him and smiled kindly, and took the opportunity to draw a sword and ask, "Have you ever considered learning swordsmanship?" He glanced at him. "Before I became Lord of Budin, I was a swordsman." His gaze turned cold, the supreme sword technique. He was momentarily stunned, a thought flashing in his mind. This was the secret sword technique that pacified the Supreme Kingdom and suppressed hordes of monsters from every direction. He looked at him with a hint of satisfaction. "You were truly born to be a smith, but I've also seen another potential in you." Budin assessed the aptitude of a swordsman, his voice steady. "Beyond what was written in Coach Jensen's recommendation, the time I've spent with you has made me certain of one thing." Budin marveled, "Exceptional physique, agile footwork when handling tools. And you also possess astonishingly deep knowledge and understanding of all kinds of weapons. Therefore, I want to teach you a core part of my sword technique." Immediately after, the system sounded, "Training Skill Quest Supreme Sword Technique Rank B, Reward. Upon reaching 80% proficiency you will learn the Supreme Sword Technique." He stepped closer, voice authoritative, "We don't have much time left, come with me. You'll endure hardships no different from those you made me suffer at the forge." He thought helplessly, "So it seems I've received an unexpected gift." A busy month passed. From then on, he toiled day and night at the forge, crafting a shooter's GAC gun for his own use, restoring the rusted armor of the Lord of Berserk, and continued throwing himself into making items around the clock. A few days later, he sparred with the Lord. The clang of blades hitting each other was fierce, and he easily dodged the attack. The Lord smiled in satisfaction, and at last he completed training in the Supreme Sword Technique. Then the Lord asked, "Are you leaving?" He nodded slightly, "Yes." Hyun Susu sheathed his sword. "Thanks to you, I've prepared everything." He asked curiously, "Where do you plan to go next?" Hyun Susu's eyes shone with excitement. "Now I'm thinking of choosing an official vocation for myself." As soon as he left, the Lord called out, "If you ever need help, come find me anytime." He left the castle, thinking, "All right, I've said farewell to the Lord, now I should sort my gear before I depart, right?" He pondered the equipment he had newly forged and restored. "The Lord of Berserk's armor is enough to compensate for my low level. Many counter-damage skills, and my newly crafted GAC gun has an option to increase accuracy by 60%. He flipped through the book, adding to it to pay living expenses during upcoming quests. He also crafts rare bows in his spare time to sell at the auction house. System display, second bow, aggressive rare tier, durability 2400/2400, damage 94, level requirement 0 to 60, special stats, agility +7, accuracy +13%, passive skill, arrow and power, active skill, piercing shot. A peerless bow in the newbie area, crafted entirely from starter region materials. He beamed, "Let's see how much it sells for." Then he took the bow to the trading floor. Elsewhere, a man stared at the bow before him, exclaiming in astonishment, an earth-shattering event had occurred. He marveled, even the bow Barrich, the nation's top-tier crafter, made at level 10 couldn't compare. Yet this player Hun made such a bow at LV1, and only used low-level materials. In the Kim Shield Hall, before everyone stood the tower ranking the top smiths. A voice rang out, "Sumi, the world's #1 smith, once said, everything in this game ultimately comes down to Ares' decision." He commented, "If Ares is moved by a player's way of playing, he will bestow an appropriate vocation, skill, or title." He muttered, "The owner of Hun's Forge can forge such a transcendent artifact, which means he." The Kim Shield Guildmaster said decisively, "Yes, like Smith, he is the bearer of a legendary vocation title." The Kim Shield Guildmaster, from Hunsu's side, saw the bow had sold and was surprised. Final price 2,050 gold. Hyun Soo cheerfully, "Someone paid 2 million just to buy an in-game bow? Far pricier than in real life." He scratched his head, thinking, 3,200 followers. Now he couldn't even handle all the guild invitations and the mountain of crafting requests. He then closed the book. "All right, let's go." He set off decisively toward the smith's sanctuary, the smith's tower. Hyun Soo departed, stepping into the deep forest and traversing the mountains. Time passed. He arrived before a vast green meadow. Before him stood a towering spire piercing the sky. He wiped the sweat from his brow. He'd finally reached the smith's tower. Seeing it in person, it was even more magnificent. Hyun Soo didn't hesitate and walked forward, looking at the gate's tight lock, wondering, "But how do I get in?" The system chimed. "This is the swordsmith's tower. System notice, to become a smith, use a sword from the magic forge to strike the seal." He lightly touched the gate. The seal looked like this lock. He felt it was a piece of pyrostone like pumice. Hyun Soo startled, "A magic forge?" System notice, you have entered the magic forge. You may receive training to forge the sword required for the test. Materials and tools are provided infinitely, and crafting time is significantly reduced compared to a regular forge. However, the swords forged here are only for use in the examination. He wondered, a test that requires chopping the stone seal with a sword, could it only be checking forging skill? His eyes widened slightly. A sword that can cut stone. Elsewhere, a burly man sat in his chair sighing, "It's all trash. They're all the same." He was discouraged, wondering how to earn the most gold. "What should I craft to sell quickly for money?" He drained his cup of wine, muttering in reproach, "They only know how to sell scrap metal pieces carelessly made with skill, they don't care about the true craft of the smith. The era of the smith has long ended, everyone only works for gold." This man was the master of the smith's tower, the swordsmith N's eyes burned with contempt. "If all you need is the title of smith, then I'll let you have it as you wish." Many people came and, to his surprise, were recognized with little effort. "You have become a smith. And poured wine, you can obtain that title by forging a sword sloppily and brandishing it. I have given you what you wanted, so my role ends here." He was disappointed. No one here could possibly shatter the sealing stone, at best they might chip it a little. N ground out, absolutely impossible. As for Hyun Soo, he planned to forge a daimler sword. The system rang out, "Daimler swords can only be forged by high-rank smiths. We recommend you forge a basic dagger." He asked, "But since the materials are all available, as long as I know the forging method, I can at least try, right?" He closed his eyes, and involuntarily recalled his father's words, "A sword can cut stone. I'll teach you how to forge the sword I discovered." At that thought he thought to himself, "If I follow my father's teaching, I can complete this task." The perfect metallurgical equipment created by magic surrounded him, supplies were infinite, every material needed for a daimler sword available. Hyun Soo began the work, and forging times were shortened further. He snorted, "This game is truly insane." Hyun Soo was excited. "Is it time to swing the hammer to my heart's content again?" Back within, a light emitted. He was sleeping deeply, suddenly awakened by a loud noise. What? He looked around in confusion, wondering, what is this tremor? N froze, the entire tower was shaking, and he deduced it was from someone's hammer strikes. Seeing this, he groped his way down the stairs to investigate. What just happened? He scratched his head in bewilderment. At that moment, the stone before the gate had crumbled, and the gate slowly began to open. N was horrified, not to say He trembled as he said, "Has someone appeared who managed to cleave the sealing stone?" and looked at the young man standing before him in dumbfounded amazement. At last, the god of smiths had taken form. He tilted his head apologetically and calmly asked him, "Have I passed the test?" As they walked, En explained, "I have always measured ability by the sealing stone. But you see, this time you shattered the entire stone, so I couldn't measure anything at all." He thought inwardly, "What is this? Do we need to retest?" He then led him to a room, causing him to gape in surprise at the sight of a magic circle. He said this was a summoning formation. He listened to him, seeing En slowly bring the hammer before him. "Please accept my hammer." He was a little embarrassed. "What?" The system chimed, "You have received En's hammer." Not only that, another notice appeared, "An hourly level quest will begin." En said sternly, "This is the real test you must complete." No sooner had he finished speaking than a beam of light enveloped him, and his body was forcefully drawn into the magic circle. "You must overcome it." He murmured a prayer, "O Smith God." A blinding light burst forth, sweeping him into another space. Hyun-soo jolted awake. Why has this happened all of a sudden? Is this really a retest? He glared, and before him countless monsters were screaming and charging. The system announced, S-rank mission, eliminate the invading Orc Legion. He was horrified. Is this a Smith's mission? Hyun-soo stood upright, sweat beading on his brow, eyes wide with tension, staring straight toward the horizon. S-rank mission, eliminate the invading Orc Legion. Suddenly he heard the reinforcements he summoned arrive behind him. Hyun-soo turned around in surprise. Am I the reinforcements? The system notified, completion condition, reach 70% contribution among 50 heroes. A group of armored warriors with gleaming swords appeared. Han spoke gratefully, "Thanks for coming." Han, level 48, I'm Captain Han. He shared the situation, the Orc invasion and the Supreme Kingdom's attacks are intensifying. Many of our weapons were damaged in combat. Can you quickly repair them with your skills? Hyun-soo shyly explained to Han, "You must be mistaken. I haven't changed my vocation to smith yet, so I can't use the skills." He exclaimed in shock, "What?" Han continued, "Then what's that hammer you're holding?" Hyun-soo startled, staring dumbfounded at the hammer in his hand. He answered awkwardly, "I got it during the vocation test and was sent here to do an additional test." Han suddenly asked, "What about your combat experience?" Hyun-soo honestly replied, "I'm still at the novice level." Han inwardly felt disappointed. He'd expected reinforcements, but instead it was someone needing training. Today's invasion is especially fierce, what can we do? He made a decision, his tone somewhat reluctant. Then the situation is bad, you should stay temporarily in the watchtower. There's a safe spot there for you to rest until we return. Suddenly, a sharp axe blade whizzed toward the two of them. Han spun around, his face tense and alert. Hyun-soo appeared, his eyes flashing with killing intent, showing intense focus. A blinding flash exploded with a loud clang. Hyun-soo was as quick as a cut, drawing the sword at his side to block the death blow axe. The axe blade was knocked away, skittering on the ground. Han gaped, completely stunned by the speed and power he had just witnessed. Hyun-soo said decisively, "Even if clumsy, I can still fight alongside you." He thought, so this really is a retest. Han inwardly mused, a real novice. The group of warriors marched urgently with pounding footsteps, everyone passing through the dark land, heading toward the battlefield. Hyun-soo told himself, if I fight like I did against the goblins, it'll be fine. Han turned his head and said sternly, Hyun-soo, join Bell's squad, they'll guide you step by step. Bell shouted encouragingly, Hyun-soo, we're counting on you. He volunteered, let me go first. The Orc banner troops charged forward fiercely, one snarled, bearing fangs and bloodshot eyes, growling in rage. Bell raised his shield to block a powerful axe strike, the impact sparking bright flashes. Hyun-soo admitted to himself that this pressure was nothing like facing goblins, this was a real battlefield. Another Orc lunged to attack. Hyun-soo thought resolutely, but I have a feeling I won't lose. He seized the opportunity, raised his sword and struck forward. Hyun-soo swung precisely at the Orc's head. It took his massive blow and collapsed. The system announced, defeated O, gained 86 experience points. Hyun-soo thought with satisfaction, a month of training really wasn't wasted. The system continued, you leveled up, Hyun-soo level 2, no vocation. Bell was full of astonishment. Hyun-soo, you still haven't changed your vocation. That's insane. He jolted, his eyes widening with worry as he realized his teammate's peril. He murmured to himself, Bell is in danger. Hyun-soo quickly switched stance, changing weapons to the bow. He took a combat-ready posture, lifting the bow high, focused intensely, his eyes shining with determination. The arrow flew cutting the air, carrying an explosive force. Over there, an orc leapt to attack another warrior. The banner orc was hit, its red eyes wide with severe pain and terror. Its body was driven back by the arrow's force, flipping in the air as blood sprayed. While watching his teammate's situation, Bell was ambushed from behind by an orc. Hyun-soo quickly knocked a second arrow, fired it straight into its head, making the orc scream in pain. Then another critical arrow pierced through its body. Update, you have leveled up. Bell thought in amazement, an archer just took down a giant orc. Is that possible? Han frowned and barked orders, regroup. Bell, the orcs are charging straight at Hyun-soo. Hyun-soo was surrounded by a swarm of orcs. Bell panicked, heart pounding, he's in danger saving me. Bell angrily chided himself, how could I lose focus in the middle of battle? Bell deeply regretted, it's all my fault, because of me. Hyun-soo. Hyun-soo raised his hand to summon, switching his weapon to the radiant sword. He executed the skill whirling dance. An enraged orc roared, its brutal face armored, mouth wide with sharp teeth. The system confirmed, whirling dance attacks all enemies within a 10-meter radius. Hyun-soo successfully received the result from the system. Regardless of target, you have leveled up, contribution reached 19%. Han laughed confidently, looking at Hyun-soo, Jia did not send you here in vain. With him by our side, we can do things we couldn't before. Everyone exclaimed in unison, amazing. Han declared boldly, listen to me. Today we will annihilate the Orc Legion with Hyun-soo. The system issued an important notice, your deeds have raised the morale of the raid team. Hyun-soo felt joyful, as if he truly belonged to the team. He worried and pondered, but then a sudden notification appeared, you have won. Hyun-soo ducked to avoid the orcs' attacks with decisive, nimble movements. System update, contribution reached 28%. Hyun-soo was not entirely satisfied, why didn't my contribution increase as expected? The system announced, your kills of orcs were faster than anyone else's. A new quest was activated, a hidden mission. Everyone suddenly accelerated, running rapidly forward. The system opened a new gate, a chapter never seen before. A giant orc stood towering, wielding an axe, Orc Warlord level 51. Han stopped and shouted, wait. Everyone stop. He said sternly, it has finally appeared. Han's face was drenched in sweat, I've never been able to defeat it. He struggled to say each word, our arch-nemesis. A soldier in the unit shouted, Captain, we're surrounded. Han panicked inwardly, realizing his mistake, damn, it was an error. We got carried away with the slaughter and pushed too deep. Bell's call snapped him awake. Captain, he said with determination, we're fully ready. Today we must take it down. Bell displayed fierce fighting spirit, we will never retreat. Han agreed, that's right, we can't keep going like this. He ordered the warriors, everyone charge. Receiving Han's command, the entire team tightened their grips on their weapons and fought with all their might. Hyun-soo silently observed from afar, they've lost their composure and are recklessly charging in. He decisively drew his bow, I must support them with arrows. The arrow tore through the air, struck the Orc Warlord but did not wound it at all. Hyun-soo couldn't believe his eyes, my arrows have no effect. He assessed, this bow normally has a pierce effect and increased accuracy. One by one his comrades fell, all cut down by the brutal Orc Warlord. Hyun-soo lamented, but the Orc Warlord's flesh was as hard as armor. In that moment, he realized that using only the bow was insufficient. Han gritted his teeth, thinking irritably, still not enough. Must we retreat again? He charged into the fray, shouting resolutely, we cannot retreat any further. The Orc Warlord raised its massive fist forward, glared ferociously at its opponents, preparing to strike. A horizontal slash cut with extreme speed, severed Han's arm. Fresh blood sprayed into the air. Seeing Han fall before him, Hyun-soo shouted anxiously, Captain. Ban felt helpless, it's over. He panting from exhaustion. The Orc Warlord stared at its opponents with scornful eyes. Ban's gaze lost faith, he felt nothing could pierce their armor. He said sadly, we will all be wiped out. Hyun-soo bowed his head, gritting his teeth. Ban turned to the remaining warriors and called out, everyone. He spoke worriedly, if we keep fighting like this, losses will only grow. The team was stunned to hear those words from Ban. Hyun-soo suggested, first, reform ranks and concentrate entirely on defense. Everyone retreat into the forest behind us, I'll follow right away. Ban urgently ordered, everyone follow Hyun-soo's command. We need to get the captain to safety and regroup. He urged, quick, pull back into the woods. Standing on defense, Ban, somewhat concerned, warned, Hyun-soo, in the forest our speed will slow. After all, what we're doing is just buying time. Hyun-soo said seriously, just 5 minutes. He pleaded urgently, can you hold out for 5 minutes? Ban affirmed firmly, yes, we definitely can. Hyun-soo ran into the dense forest, the blurred trunks flashing by, his feet moving swiftly across the ground, making rapid sounds. He couldn't help but wonder, can an arrow not penetrate that solid armor? Hyun-soo decisively dismissed the thought of giving up. He stood alone among the trees shaded by moonlight, holding the hammer firmly with one hand, preparing to activate a new skill. Hun's hammer, the replicated hammer of Jian, was executing a special ability. He vowed to himself that he would stand on this side of the front line so everyone could fight to the end. The merciless orc warlord felled them one by one like a devastating storm on the battlefield, blood spraying into the dark air. Ban forced himself up, encouragingly, we must hold on. He continued to motivate them, just 5 minutes, just 5 more minutes. Ban glared at the enemy, trying to shout, a little longer and we will never retreat again. Suddenly, the giant orc warlord raised its spear to strike Ban, but was halted by a mysterious force. The impact created a blinding flash of light. Before it could recover, it was struck by a critical hit from afar. Ban asked in bewilderment, what's happening? Hyun-soo's silhouette vanished at the forest edge and in an instant appeared between light and shadow. He hid among the canopy, focusing his aim at the enemy. The orc warlord howled in pain and rage. Hyun-soo attacked it once more. This time, the arrow struck the orc warlord's head dead center. He gently released the bowstring, calmly watching the result of the shot. Hyun-soo looked toward his comrades facing the orc legion. Ban cried out in fright, Hyun-soo. Hyun-soo. He had successfully unlocked a new skill. On arrow segment, rare, damage 95, special skill. Hyun-soo mentally calculated each step, young sapling for the bow shaft, continued pondering. The arrows were carved and multiplied by the blacksmith's hammer into eisen. Hyun-soo analyzed the situation internally, combining the two into the bow rack. The system signaled, the bow rack and arrow segment activated a special effect. Hyun-soo stood ready to fight. Ban charged into battle, swinging his weapon to support his comrades with all his might. A warrior shouted, eyes resolute, holding the line to buy time for Hyun-soo's attack. Hyun-soo drew the bowstring taut, ready to release the arrow. The shaft was loosed, aimed squarely at the orc warlord's brow. He silently trusted his new weapon. The piercing power of this arrow segment could rival a gunpowder weapon like an arquebus. His gaze fixed on the target, and another arrow was loose, racing forth at lightning speed. The blast made the ground tremble, forming swirling rings of energy that struck the orc warlord's crown directly. A new notification appeared on the interface, you have defeated an orc warlord. The system flashed again, level up. The previous strike left it unable to stand. The system signaled, you have received the title Orc Warlord Slayer. It froze, watching its comrades fall, fear clear on its face. The Orc Warlord dropped its weapon and fled. No one wanted to miss the chance. The team shouted, the Orc Warlord is terrified and trying to flee. Catch it. Behind it, Hyun-soo chased closely. Light flared from his weapon, emitting intense energy. Amid the smoke and dust of the battlefield, Hyun-soo leapt into the air, raising his bow to shoot downward from above. His blood-red eyes flared, radiating a terrifying killing intent. The arrow streaking toward the orc warlord. It panicked, recognizing the danger and tried to dodge. But the arrow arrived before it could react. The orc warlord screamed in utter terror. The arrow struck, cracking and shattering its helmet. A new notification instantly appeared, S-rank mission, purge the invading orc army. Combat data analysis. Contribution reached 92%, task progress updated as completed with outstanding performance. The crowd of warriors cheered, chanting his name, Hyun-soo. Hyun-soo. The interface displayed, the expedition force is ecstatic over your achievements. Another message appeared, the raid force trusts your command. Hyun-soo received a hidden title, battlefield leader, a special skill, and additional prestige points. Han spoke weakly with worry. Hyun-soo. He turned to Captain Han. He was moved, voice choked, for so long defense alone has been hard. I never thought in my life I'd see this day. Finally I can fulfill my long-held wish to destroy the orcs. He looked at Han with calmness and respect. Han placed his hand over his left chest. Sincerely grateful, thank you very much. Hyun-soo's hand also touched his chest. He modestly said softly, I also thank everyone. He breathed a sigh of relief inwardly. The test was finally over. Hyun-soo thought to himself, now should I return to the blacksmith tower? He scratched his head in confusion, but how do I get back? At the central tower area, the blacksmith's great hall, Jia-en growled, the blacksmith tower is falling into disrepair. He continued, all the glory and honor belong to the knights, and only those blinded by money come to the forge. Jia-en said seriously, we need someone with the true spirit of a smith. He mused and continued, to be precise, Jia-en asserts, there is only one person worthy to wield this sword. He added that many have been chosen over the years, yet the prophecy has not come to pass, the prophecy left by the smith god long ago. The prophecy that a successor will appear and bring prosperity once more. The proud master of Horn Tower spoke up, so you are Master Jia-en, the only tower master qualified to take part in the divine sword trial, right? He sneered, still, is this not the deception of the chosen one? He summoned us here though everyone is busy, gathered to deliberate. He was the master of Horn Tower. The owner of the forge also showed displeasure, to grant a trial qualification to an inexperienced outsider. Jia-en calmly replied, Horn, have you read the letter I sent? This is a valid qualification for anyone who passed the test we set. Moreover, he recounted Hyun-soo's feat, he hasn't even switched classes, yet he led soldiers and demonstrated his forging skill, wiping out the orc warband. A master smith asked in surprise, wiped them out? You faced them without changing class. Jia-en continued to explain, the trial was created based on a prophecy, the successor of the smith god is the strongest, so this sword will be given to the one with the perfect answer. He chuckled inwardly, a joy known only to himself, but the others would know soon enough. A soldier entered and respectfully reported, Master Jia-en, Hyun-soo has arrived at the Great Hall. He replied sternly, understood. Jia-en ordered in a serious tone, bringing him here. Hyun-soo entered the hall, walking cautiously and decisively. He placed his hand on the wooden door, pushing it open little by little. The door swung wide, and Hyun-soo stepped in with a confident bearing. Jia-en smiled in welcome, greeting the outsider. Having overcome many trials, he was entering the smith's sanctum. He continued speaking, Jia-en proclaimed eloquently, furthermore, you have earned the right to challenge the prophetic sword, the relic left by the smith god. Jia-en encouraged, the moment you grasp the sword, all will be decided, and somewhere you will receive a fitting reward. Hyun-soo felt surprised, a thought flashed through his mind, a fitting reward? Since I even cleared an S-rank mission in the class trial, maybe I'll be promoted to a legendary class. Horn spoke from behind with a mocking tone, congratulations on standing here with us in this place of glory. He marveled, your performance was excellent, able to remain calm in such a desperate moment. Horn smirked with contempt. However, the arrows he made were only copies of Su Neon's. He sneered sarcastically, anyway, you were very lucky, without that trial bow, you wouldn't have passed the challenge in the first place. Horn laughed loudly and challenged, then draw the sword here and let's see if your luck holds. Hyun-soo remained silent, suppressing the surge of emotions. He realized these were master smiths. They were extraordinary NPCs, veterans of many past campaigns, creators of legends in Ares. To achieve that, they each possessed astonishing levels and titles as smiths. The system screen displayed power ranks, Tower Master Horn, owner of the Bow Forge, level 365. Hyun-soo thought confidently, they are certainly formidable, but I don't think my skills are inferior to anyone's. He was confident in his judgment. Besides, what if we competed purely without relying on titles? Hyun-soo encouraged himself, I can do this. He stood before the sword of light radiating immense energy. Before Hyun-soo could touch it, the blade suddenly emitted a halo and latent power. Jia-en was horrified, eyes wide and mouth agape at the sight before him. The relic sword exploded into a blinding burst of energy. A massive white light emanated from the center where Hyun-soo stood. The source of energy was the sword channeling its power into Hyun-soo's body. He cried out in panic, what's happening? Where did the sword go? Ha, how strange. Jia-en rejoiced, just as expected. Unable to hide his joy, grinning broadly with delight, Jia-en laughed loudly in satisfaction. This is the meaning of the prophecy being fulfilled, he added. We've merely been making up rituals and procedures. The true successor doesn't even need to touch the sword. Horn glared, face contorted with anger. Damn it, unacceptable. The system immediately sent congratulations, before Hyun-Soo successfully attains the new achievement, Aries' first divine profession. He felt bitter and resentful, not at himself, nor at Jia-en, but at that outsider. The system reported again, you have been appointed divine blacksmith. Horn still couldn't believe what he saw. Will he become our divine blacksmith? The rank interface displayed, Hyun-Soo, divine blacksmith level 10. Hyun-Soo questioned inwardly, the first divine profession in Aries. The first notification appeared, the unique SSS title, divine blacksmith. A second guidance interface appeared. Immediately after, when crafting relics, you will not be limited by material level, crafting instructions were displayed. When crafting relics, your mastery stats will increase based on each dialogue type. The system declared, you will become superior to all smiths. The final instruction, the divine sword trial profession quest will begin when you reach rank 100. A master smith whispered, the sword chose that outsider. Another spoke thoughtfully, then according to the prophecy, the successor of the divine smith is. Horn angrily shouted, unacceptable. All eyes turned to him. Rage flared. Horn lost his composure and shouted loudly, we are the tower masters who have waited to become the great successor revealed by the smith god. You cannot conclude that the sword choosing him is the will of the smith god. Jia-en responded sternly to his words, the prophecy is absolute. Horn reacted furiously, this isn't stubbornness, whomever all the tower masters acknowledge will become the successor of the smith god. That is also part of the prophecy. He spoke in a strong, authoritative voice. Thus, Horn, the master of the Bow Forge, pointed and declared, I challenge you, outsider. A smithing duel. Horn proclaimed, if you defeat me in this match, I will recognize you as the successor, but if I win. He lowered his voice triumphantly, you must renounce the successor position chosen by the prophetic sword. Forfeited. Jia-en sternly called for people to intervene, he's lost his mind, everyone. We must restrain Horn. But everyone turned away and ignored him. He frowned and muttered reproachfully, these people. Horn offered another option, well, you can run away. If you prefer, I'll give you the position of deputy master. He added a condition, on the condition that you accept proper instruction and behave obediently under my authority. Jia-en shouted, his voice full of helplessness echoing from behind. Hyun-Soo accepted Horn's challenge, all right. He was confident in his decision. I accept the challenge. His current status, Hyun-Soo, level 10 divine blacksmith. Display attributes, profession skills. Hyun-Soo was ready for the match, because a smith speaks through skill. The system announced, you may use divine customization. A one-on-one match between two blacksmiths was about to take place. The duel between the two blacksmiths was set. Horn spoke with a resolute expression, the way we fight will be different from the knights. He began to explain, we will forge artifacts that carry our souls in the forge, then use the blades we create to fight. Whichever blade breaks first loses. He pointed to the waiting hall, the best forges have been prepared inside the waiting hall. Jia-en said calmly, with the current level of your swordsmithing, a day should be enough to complete a blade. Horn curled his lip, looking smug, yes, but that's only true if you truly are a smith god. Then I'll see you tomorrow. He left gleefully, wearing a sly smile. Jia-en said worriedly, Hyun-Soo, you accepted that challenge too quickly. He revealed, Horn is one of the strongest of the tower. Jia-en reminded him, even if you've been promoted to a divine vocation, you still need time to develop. Hyun-Soo understood the current situation clearly, yes, that's right. If my vocation were still as it was before, this would be a crushing defeat for me. Since the primordial breath, people have spoken of the world within the game Aries. Above all, players receive powerful skills and enhancement effects based on rank and title. Each tower has a caretaker, and the master of each tower possesses innate abilities. Hyun-Soo felt that once he advanced to the divine vocation, that gap would no longer be significant. He confidently gripped the hammer in his hand. At this moment, the only difference was simply skill, and that was even more evident than before. He thought to himself that it was because of the skill he had received. The system displayed the skill attributes: Level 1 Divine Smith, an active skill slot of divine rank. The interface allowed the player to freely craft weapons as they wished. Inside the forge, flames flickered from the crucible, casting light. Horn hurled the hammer with all his might, each powerful strike ringing out. The fire cast light on the weathered face of a longtime smith. I had once been a smith who forged many swords. Horn recalled that swordsmithing had been passed down in his family for many generations. So he emphasized that he was the legitimate heir, taught directly by his father. Memories from years past slowly returned. But then, someone far superior to him appeared. During that time, Horn's heart was full of bitterness. And then, instead of forging swords, he was forced to become the master of the Blacksmith Tower. He couldn't hide his jealousy. He hated that person, but he also understood and accepted it. That person was none other than Master Jia-en. Unable to contain his anger, Horn spoke with resentment. That bastard brought in some random stranger and placed him above me. Horn, full of hatred, said, I will never forgive that. He poured all his anger into the metal. The fire inside the forge roared, sending fierce sparks flying. Beads of sweat dotted Hyunsu's face. He exhaled in relief, holding a blade that gleamed coldly under the blinding light. Jia-en watched silently, imbuing the weapon with divine power and effects. He judged silently, always following the fundamental principle of give and take. Jia-en evaluated quietly. To secure victory he first had to ensure durability, then maximize the piercing attribute. In his mind it was clear, so to create the desired effects, you had to forge it to the highest rank. Jia-en pondered, but Hyunsu's durability and stats were only at rare rank. Hyunsu stood tall, raising the freshly forged blade high. A brilliant golden light filled the room. He wondered to himself, Hyunsu, what exactly is the divine smith thinking and what skill does he possess? The day of the duel had arrived. Horn raised an eyebrow, his voice dripping with disdain. You didn't run away, huh? So you can forge a sword overnight? He sneered. Let's see whether your creation can truly be called an heir of the gods. Horn slowly drew his sword from its sheath, his deep voice resonating. First, he tossed the scabbard to the ground. Horn slowly said, allow me to present my blade. A series of info appeared: Dark Knight, Durability, Damage, Special Skill. Jia-en folded his arms and watched intently. A master praised, as expected, Horn's skill is extraordinary. Someone beside him added, to produce such a perfect dueling sword in one night is astonishing. Truly a masterpiece. Horn curled his lip, inwardly filled with indescribable delight. Of course, this blade bears the deep mark of my family's tradition and secret techniques. He was very curious. Now show me your sword. Hyunsu drew his blade from its sheath, lifting it up before everyone's eyes. At that moment, his face froze. Contrary to Horn's expression, Jia-en was overjoyed. The stats appeared in sequence: Hyunsu's custom-made sword, rare rank. Everyone was surprised, whispering non-stop. Rare. A rare-ranked sword. Rustling murmurs spread everywhere. Pathetic. Perhaps Horn's guess was right from the start. The more he heard it, the darker Horn's expression grew, rage welling up. He gave a cold laugh. Dark schemes forming in his mind. This time I made a grave mistake. Horn turned to assume a stance, his gaze icy as he stared at his opponent. Snarling in fury at this ridiculous contest, he yelled, it will end soon. Hyunsu focused all his strength into the sword in his hand, ready to fight. He launched a frenzied attack at his opponent. The two blades met, producing a piercing clash that echoed through the space. Unexpectedly, Horn's sword snapped in two. The sequence of events was so fast it left everyone stunned. Horn stood frozen, eyes wide, pupils constricted in shock. Hyunsu kept a steady, cold gaze, unmoved. Half of Horn's blade fell to the floor. His legs halted, trembling uncontrollably. He exclaimed in astonishment, what? How is this possible? How could it be? Hyunsu moved his lips and then explained, you can't judge a sword by rank alone. The system immediately displayed detailed information about the weapon's skills. Hyunsu's first custom-made sword. Suddenly, the old counsel from his father echoed in Horn's mind. My son, one day the divine smith will appear on this land. His father's voice reverberated in his mind, a person capable of breaking our perceptions and leading us to new horizons. And the chance to meet that person belongs to all of us. Horn asked innocently, Father, if I could also become a great smith, would that person teach me? Jian watched from afar, thinking to himself, breaking a sword alone won't convince the tower master. That's why he made a sword that cuts swords. Jian recalled their conversation last night. He asked, is this possible? Hyunsu answered frankly, this isn't an easy task. Creating a weapon of the desired rank entirely depends on, he said firmly, the skill and the blood, sweat, and tears of a smith. The system explained, the higher the divine smithing tier and effect, the harder the forging process. Jia-en felt joyful inside, the bold choices and decisive will to break conventions, combined with the knowledge and capability to carry them out, filled him with pride. Hyunsu possessed all of those qualities. Horn suddenly spoke up, the divine smith. He hesitated and asked, could I also forge a sword like that? Hyunsu slightly turned his head and gave a benevolent smile, and replied calmly, of course you can. Horn was moved, tears welling up, and he respectfully knelt before him. He bowed in submission. Horn, master of the bow forging tower, bowed before the divine smith. The system announced, achievement unlocked, completed the one-on-one blacksmith duel quest. At the central tower, in the grand smithing hall, Horn carried over a box and gently called Hyunsu. He lifted the box in his hands, his voice full of reverence, please accept this. The box opened, introduction required, first was the base reward, 500 gold coins. Hyunsu was excited inside, was this the quest reward? Horn added, and this is a scroll containing the method to craft a legendary bow, passed down to the masters of the smithing tower. He received the new spoil. You have obtained one of the smith's treasures, the legendary bow crafting method. Horn said sadly, this is a technique I could never complete. I believe giving it to someone who grows stronger every day like you is the right thing. Jia-en added, now that the final divine smith has appeared, we will continue to improve our own skills. So, Hyunsu, please make the highest rank your goal. Hyunsu accepted his reward. Jia-en advised further, explore this vast world. He departed to begin a new journey. Hyunsu waved farewell. The growth of a deity would now begin. Back in the real world, at a roadside eatery, Hyunsu raised a beer to celebrate with a friend. Jun jumped up excitedly, am I really drinking a beer bought by Hyunsu? And he even got promoted to a divine vocation. That's crazy. He grinned teasingly, I recommended Aries to you so your great skill wouldn't go to waste, but I never expected you'd have such a knack for gaming. Jun congratulated him, after the day you proved yourself in the forge, you finally stepped into the light. He asked, now that you've been promoted to a divine vocation, is it different from before? Hyunsu replied, honestly, not by much. He had another worry, above all, he had to pay his father's hospital bill tomorrow. While he was being promoted, the additional treatment costs had risen to 10 million. Hyunsu sighed softly, I also looked into the experimental drug you asked about before. Without insurance, they said it's likely to be 20 million. He added sadly, moreover, there's also treatment for your burn scars. Jun clarified the situation, with only your vocation income, it won't be enough to pay off the debt. No matter how many weapons you craft and sell, your body has limits. In the end you still have to level up and build your own reputation. Hyunsu told himself, the growth of a god begins now. Jun suggested, you need to build connections with the most famous people in Aries. That way even same-tier quests can yield bigger rewards and rare items for you. On that foundation, you can start reforging top-tier weapons. Hyunsu thought to himself, build relationships with the most famous people. He suddenly came up with an idea. I have an idea. Just wait until, Jun confidently declared, Big Bro here will achieve the greatest feats and carry the team for you. Hyunsu sighed in exasperation, you, just don't get fired, okay? He pouted, hey, I'm serious here. In the Aries players' chat, rumors circulated, did you hear? K21 has finally reached legendary rank. Wow, that's awesome, crazy, but that wasn't the craziest part. The real madness was that Sword King Baghat had been defeated. Defeated? Did someone actually get to him? It's true, no one had ever defeated him before. Unbelievable, how did that person manage it? Seriously, how did they defeat him? At the hospital, Hyunsu blurted out, 30 million a month. He worried inwardly, thinking he had to pay the hospital bill because it was due today. He walked down the street but couldn't take his eyes off his phone. Hyunsu remained anxious, even combining quest rewards and auction profits wouldn't be enough. he couldn't let his father's treatment be interrupted. The phone screen showed something that surprised him. Huh? His eyes widened in shock. A notification appeared that Hun's custom-made sword had been sold at auction for 53,310 gold, purchased by user Rut. Hyunsu immediately ran to the hospital cashier. "Excuse me," he told the cashier, "the bill you said was overdue, today I'll pay it in full." Hyunsu vowed silently that he would never, ever stop playing Ares. A message arrived from the buyer, Rut. "Hun, thank you so much for your sword. I was able to get past Baghat's round as I hoped. If people understood the true value of your creation, they'd know 50 million gold still isn't nearly enough. I found a gap in the Sword King's attack." Even he was shocked. "Hun, the King of Gauze, the Sword King Baghat, is waiting for you. He says he wants you personally to deliver the sword to him." Hyunsu stared at his phone in stunned disbelief. Sword King Baghat. Rut urged via message, "Go meet him." These messages made his eyes shine brightly. The sky was clear and blue, brilliant with fluffy white clouds. He looked up and thought, "At this rate I can pay my father's hospital bills and buy the treatment medicine." Hyunsu had made up his mind. He had to go meet Baghat and find a forge for himself. The scene of a city with many high-rise buildings appeared. A glossy black leather shoe rested lightly on the gleaming tiled pavement under the light. A dapper man in black dress pants and polished leather shoes stepped down from a luxury car. He complained, "A forge? They still have such a thing these days." He called loudly to Hyunsu, "There's only 1 month left until the appointment." It was late at night. The dim glow from the streetlights created a hush. The apartment building appeared in the darkness. One window still had its light on. Hyunsu gasped, "What?" He cried out in shock, "You mean I can't meet Baghat?" Jun on the other end said, "Who do you think you are? Just because you have a divine vocation you can do whatever you want? How could some noob level 10 possibly meet the Sword King?" He explained that to meet a high-tier NPC, a player's level and reputation must be comparable. To meet Baghat, you'd need to be at least level 200. Hyunsu froze. "What?" Jun added, "But it's not impossible." He mentioned the Gozat martial tournament held annually in the Kingdom of Gozat. It's a competition limited to players from level 50 to 60, and the Sword King Baghat searches there for potential talents. That's why he presides over the Gozat martial tournament for outsiders every year. He continued with more information. That tournament is about to begin, and Baghat himself will set the reward for the winner. If you want to meet him now, that's the only way. A horse-drawn wagon trudged along the dirt road through the dense forest. Hyunsu sat comfortably on the wagon's crate, leaning against the side, his eyes distant and thoughtful. Jian's words echoed in his mind, "Hyunsu, go to the Dust Sand territory." He added sternly, "It's on the border between the Shorelands and the Kingdom of Gauze, where battles with the undead erupt daily. More than anyone, they need someone like you there." Jian described Dust Sand territory as a war zone where the invasion of undead creatures must be stopped. Hyunsu thought it over carefully and quietly decided, if Jian was right, the quickest way to level up was to go there. A fierce resolve rose within him. "I must wipe that place out at any cost." The determination in his heart blazed. Against the pitch-black sky, lightning flashed like a blade tearing the night. The entire city gradually came into view. System notification. You have entered the Dust Sand domain. A man asked, "Are you reinforcements from the capital?" He said cheerfully, "Great, we're seriously short-handed." He was Captain Lander. He explained that the reason was the increased number of invading undead. Hyunsu asked, "The numbers increased? Any reason why?" Lander turned and replied, "As for the cause, when the holy bell La Mat So rings across the Dust Sand domain, the invading undead weaken and become easier to kill." Lander said that the sound of the holy bell La Mat So had always held them back. Hyunsu silently deduced the event mechanism like that. Lander added what he knew, but recently the bell shattered into pieces. He spoke sadly, "We were caught off guard, could only strengthen defenses in vain, and the enemy began to notice and surge forward." Hyunsu wondered, "Can't it be repaired?" Lander was surprised. "Huh? Don't tell me you're sent by Master Jian." Hyunsu did not deny it. "Yes, I was sent by Master Jian himself." Lander urged anxiously, "Why didn't you say so earlier? We've been waiting for you a long time, go see the commander right away." A deep voice rang out, "You say Master Jian sent him? He was the Dust Sand Knight commander, Can." Lander replied respectfully, "Yes, sir." He wants to inspect the holy bell La Mat so personally, he may understand the problem. Then you must know that Master Jian once declared the holy bell La Mat so cannot be repaired, right? He listened intently, curiosity and surprise in his eyes. Ken recounted, the Lord secretly ordered restorations many times, but the result was the same. The holy bell La Mat so is shattered, just an irreparable relic. He continued, there is someone in Dust Sand named Seal who has been tirelessly trying to fix it, but it's all been for nothing. Ken paused, then spoke heavily, I heard that person is level 290 and still powerless. Hyunsu, what is your capability? The system signaled, Commander Ken requested your level information. Hyunsu didn't hesitate, I'm currently level 13. Ken showed some disappointment, I don't fault your good intentions in coming to help, but at that level you should look for tasks suited to your strength first. His tone grew grave as he spoke of the situation. The Dust Sand domain is on the brink of collapse. The day the undead main force attacks will be the day of doom. Ken declared resolutely, our duty is to protect the Lord and the people here to the last moment. We must fulfill that duty. A soldier shouted urgently, Commander. He pointed in a direction and reported, the undead are breaching the eastern wall. His voice trembled with fear, the ghouls. A massive horde of ghouls was approaching. Interface display, ghoul level 41. Ken shouted urgently, move quickly. Hold the main gate at all costs. The soldier replied decisively, yes, sir. He ordered, Lander, follow me. Lander answered swiftly, yes, sir. Then, remembering something, he lowered his voice and instructed, keep what we say here secret, understood? Hyunsu acknowledged clearly. He calmly told himself, if it's a fight with these guys, I can definitely handle it. A new notification appeared, territory defense mission. Defeat the invading ghouls and protect the main gate. Ghouls poured in from all sides. The scene was utter chaos. They clung to the walls, trying to get inside. The knights fought in perilous conditions. Lander reminded them, the undead are very hard to kill without weapons carrying holy power, you have to hit the same spot repeatedly. An arrow left the bow, whistling as it tore through the air. Hyunsu's arrow flew and lodged straight into a ghoul's head. Lander looked at him with utter astonishment. He felled a ghoul with a single headshot from an arrow without using holy power. One of his rapid-fire arrows could pierce through 4 ghouls at once. The ghouls were torn to pieces, scattered under the barrage of attacks. Everyone was overjoyed to see them destroyed. He shouted excitedly, if you're ready, come on in, I'll wipe them all out. Hyunsu brimmed with confidence, feeling things were easier than he'd thought. If this kept up he'd clear the stage. But Hyunsu suddenly froze, as if seeing something terrifying. The joy hadn't lasted long before a new development began. A giant siege ghoul appeared. Lander's face went pale with fear, his voice trembling. It's appeared, send for the commander. System display, giant siege ghoul, level 89. Lander gritted his teeth, filled with anger and worry about the situation. Lord Ken was defending the gate and could not leave his post. Lander sank into helplessness, thinking the fortress might fall like this. Hyunsu offered, I'll try to draw its attention. Lander stammered, what? How can you? No sooner had he finished speaking than Hyunsu sped off, charging straight toward the giant ghoul. Lander tried desperately to stop him but he still shot forward like an arrow, completely ignoring Lander's protests. Hyunsu was lightning fast, a sweeping slash sent the ghoul's head flying. Hyunsu sprung onto the wall, used the momentum and landed hard on the ground. He firmly told himself, okay, I just need to take it down. He crouched low and sprinted at terrifying speed, doing his best to draw the ghoul's attention and distract it. A streak of blazing red light erupted beneath its feet, creating a violent shockwave. He calculated carefully, first lure it as far from the wall as possible. Hyunsu, tense, have I attracted it yet? The ghoul raised its giant foot and stomped down hard, trying to crush him. Thanks to his agile body, Hyunsu deftly dodged in time, though growing exhausted and breathing heavily. Why is it so fast? Hyunsu thought. A notification sounded, confirming a tactic change, switch to a bow weapon. Hyunsu gripped the bow shaft tightly, hope filling his heart. With this, he decisively released an arrow aimed straight at the ghoul's head, believing it would be over. But strangely, the ghoul was unharmed. Steadfast as a tripod, it roared in rage. The ghoul stared at him with murderous eyes, leaving Hyunsu stunned, no damage at all. It suddenly raised its leg to attack, and he was kicked and hurled away, his body flipping through the air. Emergency system alert, HP below 10%. Warnings blared repeatedly. At 0% HP you will be forcibly logged out. Hyunsu refused to accept it. The ground shattered under the impact as he landed. Hyunsu lay writhing in pain. He tried to push himself up despite the forced logout. He spoke with resolute voice. Does it think I'll give up easily? He knelt on the rocky ground, a small figure facing the ghoul's massive body. Hyunsu told himself, swelling with the desire to win, if I don't clear this, I can't enter the Gozat martial tournament. Hyunsu must bear his family's responsibilities, pay his father's hospital bills. Thinking of the burns on his body, the medical costs, the dream of rebuilding the forge slipping away. I can't go back to being useless. Hyunsu clenched his teeth, realizing that this game is where he begins to change his reality. Hyunsu stood up resolutely and continued fighting the ghoul. He bit his lip and vowed, now I absolutely must not give up. This attack pierced straight through the ghoul's leg. A piercing scream rang out as it writhed in pain, growing more ferocious. The system immediately sent an alert, HP below 3%. Still, Hyunsu fought with strong will. I will never give up. He fired another arrow at the ghoul, focusing all his strength and whispering, it's not over yet. Just as the battle reached its climax, the bowstring suddenly snapped. Hyunsu was nearly stunned. My bowstring. The ghoul seized his lapse in vigilance to strike unexpectedly. This time, he couldn't dodge. The situation was extremely dire. HP down to 1%. Hyunsu couldn't believe what was happening, whispering in despair. But his will remained firm. It can't end like this. He struggled, telling himself absolutely not to give up. The system announced, special condition met, HP below 5%. Strong desire combined with the condition of the divine smith. You may acquire a new skill. Hyunsu was astonished. The system continued, you have received the Godsmith's emergency crafting skill. Crafted weapons last only 30 seconds. Hyunsu had no time to think, he knew this was his chance. The system began a countdown, the godly emergency craft started. He was determined to clear this stage. System guidance, you may choose materials. He thought, this is my last chance. Wasting no time, Hyunsu began crafting, raising the hammer high. Then brought it down on the metal bar. The fierce strike produced a resounding clang that echoed through the space. He seized every second, sweat streaming down his cheeks. A long gleaming sword, wrapped in powerful beams of light, was created. Hyunsu gripped the sword tightly as intense blue energy surged through his body. All his power concentrated into this strike. A powerful slash he aimed straight at the ghoul's torso. The holy anti-demon sword made it real, its whole body trembling from the extreme force. The slash split the ghoul's body in two, blood gushing violently. Unable to stay upright, it collapsed to the ground. Hyunsu was exhausted, each shallow breath draining his strength. He exclaimed with joy, I did it. The system rang out congratulations, you have defeated the giant siege ghoul, gained experience, leveled up to 38. Hyunsu let out a long, relieved breath and, struggling, whispered, that's enough. His body was nearly spent, he collapsed. Ken hurriedly called his name, Hyunsu. Hyunsu. The sky was crystal clear, bright sunlight streaming through white clouds. Hyunsu lay on a bed and slowly opened his eyes, tiredly asking everyone, how long has it been? What about the ghoul? Everyone cheered joyfully, he's awake. A true hero. Hyunsu blinked in confusion and asked, what's going on? Ken stepped forward, speaking calmly, thanks to you we survived today. He was deeply grateful, thank you. How did you do it? Hyunsu turned to the commander, scratched his head and stammered, unable to explain. Ken burst out laughing, was it that complicated? Hyunsu thought to himself that even if he told them they wouldn't believe he forged a holy weapon mid-battle. Ken encouraged him, don't be modest, the victory today is entirely thanks to you. Hyunsu knew well that ghouls fear holy power, like tormented spirits. A pure sword shone, surrounded by twinkling constellations. The moment he realized it, he thought of the holy anti-demon sword, what destroys evil spirits and dispels calamities, as his father had said about restoration. He recalled memories with his father long ago, which helped him create that sword. That was the reason he could forge it. Hyunsu felt satisfied, glad everything went as planned. It was a cheating skill, sadly usable only once. Ken proposed, ah, yes, I must reward you. He handed him a pouch of coins, I will be generous. System record, you received 2,000 gold. Hyunsu stammered, "Thank you, sir," filled with joy. "That's 2 million gun," Kan admitted. "I had mistaken you for one of the outsiders." He bowed sincerely, "I'm sorry." The surrounding knights shouted, "Commander Hyunsu." He signaled for him to rise. "It's all right, Commander." Hyunsu squeezed his hand, expressing gratitude, "Thank you for acknowledging me." The system interface displayed, "Affinity with Ken has reached maximum." He bowed and, with a pleading tone, said, "So I would like to formally ask you for a favor." Ken relied on his help. "Please repair the unmatched so holy bell. I place my trust in you. From the sword you used, I could definitely sense holy power. If it's you, I believe you can do it." Hyunsu politely declined, "I appreciate your trust. But now I must go to the kingdom of Gozat." Ken suddenly remembered something. "I nearly forgot an important detail, that you are a blacksmith." He revealed that the Lord possessed a legendary ore. If you repair the bell, he might reward it to you. Hyunsu's eyes lit up, a legendary ore. The brilliant sunlight fell on the fortress walls, highlighting their majesty and antiquity. Inside the fortress, Ken introduced, "Here." He opened the door for him to see inside. Ken pointed at the bell, "This is the unmatched so holy bell." Hyunsu was completely shocked to see the bell. It wasn't just damaged but shattered to pieces. Ken trusted him. "Can I trust you?" Hyunsu hesitated inwardly. Could this really be restored? He replied, "Yes, of course." Hyunsu thought to himself that it was worse than he expected, but there must be a way. Someone suddenly called out from behind, "Commander." She was Belle, slowly approaching the two of them. Belle said firmly, "That bell cannot be repaired." She leaned close to Hyunsu and whispered, "Even at level 290 I'm powerless, and you say you can do it?" She bowed her head and offered a mysterious smile, then looked up and challenged, "You're a fraud, aren't you?" Belle suddenly made a decision, "I will leave the guild." He tried to stop her. "Belle, Captain Kim, what are you saying?" He was Guildmaster Kim Thun Run, bewildered by her decision. "Why leave so abruptly? Won't all you've built be wasted?" But Belle paid no mind. "Yes, but I'm tired now." He muttered half-heartedly, "Not only this time if we recruit Blacksmith Hyunsu." Belle shouted angrily, "That's exactly the problem. Offer an anonymous player 500 million gold a year." Run emphasized, "Blacksmith Hyunsu sold the first sword he forged for 50 million gold. If we have him, the guild would rise in rank in no time." Belle disagreed. "The new blacksmiths you brought in recently were replacements for the previous ones, right? Then they took the signing fee and ran, didn't they? Another one hit the jackpot and disappeared. That time, and the next time again." He replied sadly, "I know, let's stop here." Belle closed her eyes and sighed softly, "Do you understand how hard I've had to clean up the mess? So please don't stop me." Run respected Belle's decision. "If that's what you want, I understand." She assured them, "Don't worry, I won't join another guild for now." Run called after her, "Still, there's always a place for you here if one day you want to return." Outside the city the walls belonged solidly to the Cat Co territory. Belle looked around, stunned by the destruction. "My God," she spoke with a touch of regret, "this village wasn't supposed to vanish so easily." In Belle's mind images of the past arose. "It was here that I realized the people in this world aren't just NPCs but real people like me." Belle told herself that if she could repair the Lamat so holy bell she might be able to prevent this disaster. She steeled her resolve and decided to inspect the bell once more. Returning to the room where the meeting with Hyunsu had taken place, Belle sternly demanded, "You're a fraud, aren't you?" Hyunsu startled and stepped back, highly alert. He retorted, "Who are you to say that?" She sneered arrogantly, "A far higher-ranked smith than you." Ken quickly intervened, "Don't fight. This is Belle, the high-ranking smith I mentioned earlier. Belle, this is Hyunsu, who helped us in the ghoul purge." He hurriedly explained, "At first he helped us fight the ghouls, and now he says he'll repair the bell. Isn't he fairly trustworthy?" But Belle didn't think so. A level 38 who helped purge ghouls. And now this? Repair the bell, she threatened. "I don't know what trick you're playing, but that bell is irreparable. Don't think you can exploit Cat Co's decline for profit here." Belle watched his retreating back, annoyed. "He ignored me." She began to speculate. Could the fragments have changed? The screen displayed that the Lamat so holy bell once contained holy power, but now it was completely shattered and irreparable. Belle leaned forward to examine. it was just as she thought. Hyunsu held a hammer, and drove it down with force onto a fragment of the bell. Seeing that, a thought flashed through her mind, impossible. Belle's eyes widened and she gasped, shouting, "What are you doing?" "Stop." Hyunsu replied briefly, "It's possible." She asked in shock, "What did you say?" He repeated, "Restoration is possible." Belle immediately objected, "Don't you know what it means for a sacred artifact to be irreparable?" A soldier ran over to report, "Commander." He trembled as he spoke, "The undead are pouring in." Ken spun around in alarm, "What?" Hyunsu quietly guessed, "Another mission then." The system announced, "The Cat CO territory update will begin. After the update, an undead territory will be established." An update notification. Belle covered her mouth, trembling with fear. Is Cat CO gradually becoming an undead territory? She murmured helplessly, "So it's over." Hyunsu did not give up, "Sir, if we can reforge the bell, we can stop it." Belle still didn't believe it. "You say you can remake the bell? That's absurd." He answered firmly, "I can." Hyunsu sprang up and asked sternly, "You want to protect this territory, don't you?" Belle bowed her head and said weakly, "You're right, but how?" Hyunsu motioned to her, "Follow me." The system instructed, "Place the unmatched bell fragments into the inventory." He clenched his hand, showing determination, "Let's protect this place together." Ken spoke with full confidence, "Hyunsu, I believe you will repair the bell. We will hold them off as long as possible." He replied resolutely, "All right, I believe you." Ken drew his sword and led the knights, shouting, "Don't lose hope." He urged everyone, "Fight until the very last moment. Hold on a little longer." Ken shouted decisively, "We must defend Cat CO." The last rays of the day shone on the wooden roof of the forge. The two stood silently among piles of weapons and forging tools. Belle turned to him and asked curiously, "So what's your plan?" Hyunsu replied, "When I struck the fragment earlier, the holy power didn't vanish, which means the holy power remains in the material's essence." He smiled confidently, holding a piece of the broken bell. "We'll melt this material down and forge a new bell. If it's a complete bell, might the holy power become even stronger?" Belle interrupted, "I've never seen a skill like that." He explained that repairing something doesn't necessarily require a skill. She asked in surprise, "What?" Hyunsu replied calmly, "What do you think hands are for? Start melting the material." Belle watched from outside, thinking to herself, "He's going to do it by hand. What era is he living in?" He turned and called out loudly, "What are you standing there for?" Hyunsu smirked, "I can't do it alone." Deputy Manager Lai and TCOC sat before the computer screen, intently studying the data. He lifted his cup and took a sip of water. TCOC complained, "It's over for this desert territory update. Looks like this update will fail." The group moved closer. "What nonsense. Don't jinx it on update day." TCOC signaled, "Look at that screen." He leaned close to the monitor and asked in surprise, "What are you looking at?" "Is it because of that blacksmith?" He declared confidently, "No way a player could repair that thing, don't be afraid." Deputy Manager Lai warned, "I say that because he's not an ordinary player." On the battlefield the day the Cat CO territory updated, Ken roared in desperation, "Hold back the undead, don't let them break through." The knights were surrounded by the undead. A cavalryman was attacked suddenly, sent flying off his mount. The undead attacked frantically. He gritted his teeth, sweat pouring from the strain. Fortunately, Ken rushed in to assist in time. He anxiously asked Han, "Are you okay?" Han replied, encouraging the troops, "Just a bit longer. Hang on a little more." He gritted his teeth and declared boldly, "This is where we've lived our whole lives. We must defend Cat CO." The blade of his sword began to show cracks. Ken stood frozen, blaming himself that it had to happen now. The blade split apart completely. The undead seized the moment and mustered force for a fatal strike. Ken closed his eyes to fate. "Damn it, it's over." But the blade halted before it could touch him. Ken seemed to recognize the sound. The undead clutched their heads, writhing, and retreated. Their flesh singed by holy fire. They screamed in unbearable pain. The tower emitted a blinding halo of light, illuminating the battlefield. Ken looked up at the tower where the light came from and cried out in joy. "The Lamb Mat So Holy Bell, it's been restored." The incident made the team leader choke on his water. Gaping, eyes wide in shock. "Are you insane?" Hyunsu raised his hammer high, and repeatedly struck the Lamb Mat So Holy Bell. "Did he actually do it? What is this?" Did the update fail? A long-haired staff member held his head and reported tiredly, that user hasn't slept a second since the update timer began. The man beside him widened his eyes, a whole week straight. 5 days earlier, the protagonist immediately ran to the forge in the Cat Co territory and mobilized the entire village to repair the unmatched bell. He declared, "We must remelt the finished bell to obtain the base material. More precisely, we'll cast the god's power into it." The protagonist drew detailed plans and gave Bell full authority to supply wartime materials and manage the smiths. The system panel flashed before everyone, beginning the custom forging. The protagonist's divine authority was confident. With skills that maximize suppression power against undead and demons, we can add true damage effects. The forge's fires flared, and he shouted, "Raise the temperature more. The vow to protect Cat Co is being poured into this batch of metal." They continuously poured ore and stirred to avoid impurities. Shouts echoed throughout the forge, everyone doing their utmost to protect the territory. The divine power grew more concentrated, seeping deeply into the mold. By the next day, the team was knocking out molds and refining through the night without rest. The following day, a smith collapsed beside the forge from exhaustion. 2 days before the update, Bell, eyes rimmed with dark circles, dozed beside the furnace. On the last day before the update, the hammering was relentless. Bell jolted awake, murmuring, when did I doze off? She rubbed her eyes and sat up amid the forge yard. The hammering still clanged, and she turned in surprise. In the yard, the newly cast large bell shone and still rang. She stood stunned inwardly. They made the bell non-stop for days. The protagonist stood with a hammer carving patterns onto the bell's body, sweating. A notification frame appeared before Bell, apprentice title glows. You have witnessed the forging process of a master divine smith. Advanced forging proficiency increased by 2.2%. Bell gaped, a master. That guy. The protagonist glanced over and calmly said, "It's noisy. And yet you slept soundly." Bell blushed and shouted, "I wasn't sleeping that much, and look, there's only finishing left now. You should stay here." "Oh wait." She hurriedly cut him off, stammering, I want to ask something." "You're the smith Hyunsu, aren't you?" The protagonist paused for a moment, pressed his lips into a slight smile and nodded, "Yes." Immediately, a brilliant golden light flared, and a ring of energy swirled around the bell as he placed his hand on the final layer. Bell looked up at the just completed bell, whispering, "Wow, doesn't do it justice. It's truly beautiful." The system panel lit brilliantly beside Hun's second custom forged bell. Unique, infinite durability, special skill purify undead, blessing against undead enemies, recreates relics once thought beyond salvation. Bell turned and asked, "Recreate? So that's why it's so insanely good." She thought to herself she had never seen anyone accomplish this. She stepped right up to him and, flustered, called softly, "Hyunsu." Suddenly she grabbed his hand tightly and pulled him close, stammering, "Please, from now on stay by my side." The protagonist's eyes widened, "Huh? Is this a confession?" Bell blushed scarlet and shouted, "This is just a mistake." Cut to the present. The protagonist raised his hammer and brought it down with force, and the bell's toll exploded across the sky. From outside the city walls, the monsters screamed in terror. As the bell's sound swept over, they fell amid a sea of fire, howling pitifully. The warriors stood frozen, gasping, and the system panel appeared. "A new bell has been forged, cleansing undead. You may now stop the update and create a new storyline." The protagonist by the bell tower breathed a sigh of relief. "We did it. Fortunately it's not too late." But suddenly his body wavered, and a warning popped up, "Fatigue accumulated. You will enter an abnormal state." At that moment, the protagonist collapsed at the foot of the bell. Bell rushed over, shouting anxiously, "Hyunsu! Hyunsu! Are you okay?" A notification appeared, "Unmatched bell repair mission complete, rewards will be adjusted." The world chat exploded. "Hey, does anyone know where the smith Hyunsu is right now?" "What is this? A bookworm?" This is why Ares' ancient territory update failed. Before and after the bell tower. Oh, I remember. Didn't he craft Hun's first custom sword? Oh, that Hyun is Hun. What the hell? He actually repaired the unmatched bell. A flood of notifications followed, tracking Hun's smithy. Early morning, sunlight streamed through the window. The protagonist woke with a start, annoyed by the barrage of notifications. A banner popped up, Hun's Smithy, 101,655 followers. He sprang up, surprised, 101,655 followers. How is that possible? This is surreal. He smiled happily, glad he had engraved the name Hun on the bell. From now on, anyone visiting the Cat CO territory would see that bell. Just then, a knock sounded at the door. Hyunsu, may I come in? Yes, please do. Captain Bandage stepped in, laughing loudly. The savior of the territory is awake. A heavy purse was placed down, 330,000 gold. The system announced, you received 330,000 gold. The protagonist's eyes lit up, thinking to himself, with this money, I can contact them. Next, Lander entered carrying a wooden jar. This is a deserving reward for a savior, the Lord instructed to be given to him. The jar's lid opened, light pouring out, and the system displayed a notification. You received the legendary mineral Ori-chan beads. The protagonist bowed, I thank you. The captain smiled and shook his head, we should be the ones thanking you. Unlike other players, you didn't give up and you protected our territory. We are truly grateful. The protagonist felt the sincerity clearly, and quietly said, I only did what needed to be done. He thought to himself that the despair of Ares people was no different from real humans. He continued, now I'll temporarily return to where I used to live. The captain laughed, alright, it's up to you. The protagonist logged out. A notification appeared, Hyunsu has logged out. The captain marveled, this person truly is a mystery. The next day, at Ghi Yongdu, a man looked at his phone, his account had just received 300 million won. He looked up and said, you actually did it. The man opposite broke into a radiant smile, it was real estate investor Song Hyuc Su. He praised the protagonist, excellent work, Hyunsu. A year earlier, in the brokerage office, Hyunsu sat across from Song Hyuc Su. The other man flipped through the files and spoke slowly, the total is 330 million gun, they say it was a major fire. Hyunsu nodded slightly, that's right. The man continued, anyway, with this money you'll be able to cover the hospital bills. Stay strong. Song Hyuc Su stood up, I'm busy, so I have to go ahead. Hyunsu blurted out, can I buy back the smithy? The man paused, what did you say? Hyunsu clenched his fist, if I can raise the money, will you sell the smithy back to me? Song Hyuc Su sighed, buying back a place that's nearly destroyed will cost you more. If you need a forge, buying a new building would be better. Hyunsu shook his head, sir, that is our smithy. There are too many memories there of my father and me. Song Hyuc Su pondered for a moment and then said, 1 year, I'll give you exactly 1 year. But remember, if that period ends I'll deal with the property. Hyunsu bowed repeatedly in thanks. As he left he turned back and added, I hope you're the first to be contacted. Up to the present, a bank message appeared on the screen, Kong Hyunsu received G. The protagonist smiled. Seeing that, Song Hyuc Su said, you really did it, impressive, Hyunsu. Even though I was the one who set the condition, I knew it was rather unreasonable. A year is already tight for someone in real estate like me, yet I kept my promise because I trusted you. Hyunsu asked quietly, why were you so kind to me? He smiled faintly, well, you're the first person to say you wanted to buy back something you sold. I just wanted to encourage someone like that. Hyunsu was about to thank him, but the man shook his head. Don't thank me. I should be grateful that you kept your promise. The protagonist thought to himself that thanks to him he didn't have to give up the smithy. Hyunsu hesitated for a moment and then asked, do you know the game called Ares? The man laughed, of course, who doesn't know it now? Hyunsu scratched his head, actually, I'm active as a smith in Ares. I want to forge you a relic as a gift. His eyes lit up, so can you make me a custom piece? No limits on effects, class, or level. Hyunsu smiled confidently, gripping his hand, sure. I'll make you anything. Cut to a lively tavern inside the game. Hyunsu entered. Bell waved and called out loudly, Hyunsu, over here. This is our first meeting since the sweep, right? The protagonist nodded, yes, I think so too. She teased, you're so hard to reach, so snobby. The remark embarrassed him, sorry. Belle laughed broadly, I was just joking. She turned serious and introduced herself, I'm the head of strategy for the Golden Shield Guild, the one who elevated the guild to its current standing. Recalling the moment the protagonist struck the bell, she added, right then I knew you'd become a top-ranked master. To be blunt, if one day you form a guild, I want to be the first member. Hyunsu froze, eyes wide, then smiled. Wasn't the first time we met you calling me a fraud? Belle flushed. Sorry. Everyone could have misunderstood the circumstances back then. That's not the case anymore. He draped an arm around her and laughed. I was joking. The two shook hands. Protagonist, looking forward to a smooth collaboration with Miss Belle. But before discussing business there was one more matter. After a moment, Belle startled. What? You're going to meet Baz Jayat, the legendary Sword King Ba, the myth. The protagonist chewed his words, replied calmly, yes, I'm entering the Gozat Martial Tournament. I hear Sword King Ba Jayat himself will present the prize to the champion. Belle clasped her head. That's true, but that tournament is full of outstanding newcomers. It's not easy at all. The protagonist simply shrugged. Then I just need to win. Belle angrily slammed the table. Hey, you're taking it way too lightly. Can you still swallow anything? He smiled gently. Don't worry, I'll aim for victory using what I do best. Hearing that, she froze, briefly surprised. Hyunsu tilted his head and asked softly, by the way, aren't you going to eat anything? Belle replied tersely, I'm fine. Cut to the day of the Gozat tournament, the stands packed, the city blazing in sunlight. A knight riding a red dragon dived into the arena and raised his hand to greet. Welcome, outsiders, to the Gozat Martial Tournament. The tournament will begin as soon as I leave the field. You will face the monsters about to appear. You may not know this, but His Majesty is watching, so keep your decorum. Good luck. A roar of excitement filled the air as he rode the dragon upward. The system announced, the Gozat Martial Tournament begins. The iron gate swung open with a crash, cheers erupted, the ground shook, and something thudded down, making everyone exclaim. The crowd looked up, and saw a massive stone block appear amid the dust. The system warned, survive against a horde of golems, time limit 1 hour. The countdown began. Shouts rose, someone roared, alright, bring it on. Rockheads, we knew it'd be golems, let's fight. The system continued, challenge 1. Defeat a level 109 stone golem to receive a reward. A few faltered. Is the level really that high? Another reassured, don't be afraid, they said the first round is easy. Whoever strikes first will have the advantage. Before the words were finished, a sweep crushed several people. A red flash lit up, and a cold announcement, HP reduced to 0, player forced to log out. Panic-stricken cries shattered the arena. You said it was easy. The rest turned and fled in chaos as 7 golems continued to roar forward. Golems swung their arms, smashing shields and killing more players. The survivors screamed in panic, the information we received is completely wrong. How can we possibly win like this? Amid the screams, Hyunsu stood calm in the crowd above, the red dragon circling the palace. Cut to inside the palace. Belle panted as she raced down the corridor, thinking, the tournament is turning dire. A higher-level golem has been released, there's no time left. If this continues, all the outsiders will be wiped out. She shouted at the door, stand aside, I must see His Majesty immediately. 2 guards blurted out, but we don't have His Majesty's permission. Belle ignored them and bellowed, Your Majesty, you must stop the match right now. A deep, warm voice rang out, they are not permitted. Belle stammered, but sir, the voice cut her off. Haven't you noticed yet? Look closely. Look at that smith down in the arena. Below in the arena, Hyunsu drew his bow, muscles taut, breath gathered. Just before he released, the arrow left the bow, its trajectory spiraling into a streak of light, hurtling straight at the stone golem. It only grazed it, then suddenly returned and fell into his hand. He flipped his wrist, activating a self-created secret technique, a third customized creation that retrieves and returns to the user. Next was a short arrow made from Ozak Henkum. The people in the distance widened their eyes. That arrow just came back, right? What kind of arrow is like a boomerang? Hyunsu calmly caught the arrow and set it back on the string. A thought crossed his mind, this was the reward from the sand territory last time. The metal gleamed coldly, Ozak Henkum exists only in legend. He drew the string again. As expected, the arrow streaked and struck the golem's chest. A ring of light exploded, but the arrow unexpectedly changed course, retracting and sweeping low across the arena, grazing a player. A voice shouted, Hey, you trying to PK? Hyunsu flinched, Ah, sorry. At the same time, the golem gave a prolonged roar and the system announced, golem stunned for 4 seconds, immobilized due to physical shock. Cheers rose, the golem is stunned. Our chance, attack. Hunters unleashed skills. Glinting blades swept down the monster's body. Consecutive explosions slammed into the golem. It howled in pain, stamping hard on the ground, causing the earth to crack open. Its red eyes still flickered as if about to rise again. It clenched its fist and kicked, sweeping in a wide arc. Someone shouted that it only needed a little more to finish. People scattered. The giant arm raised, preparing to smash down. Hot wind whistled past ears as it threw a punch aimed straight at Hyansu. A loud crash, dust swirled, players screamed, damn it. Through the dust, Hyansu's voice rang out as he switched weapons, metal striking the stone arm. He panted, it's not over yet. He clenched the new sword's hilt and held the gleaming blade to block the next strike. The moment they met, a flash of light flared. A snapping sound rang right before his eyes. Hyansu was hurled high, his sword shattered into many pieces. In the observation room, someone hurriedly said, Your Majesty, we should halt the tournament. That player was nearing the limit. Ba Jiak exhaled softly, saying nothing, but the ring of light on the orb flickered, making him start and stare down at the arena. Within the golem's chest, a metallic ring of light coalesced into the shape of a blade. The deity's emergency forging was complete. Hyansu gasped, tightening his grip on the new weapon's hilt. The crescent-bladed sword felt cold against his hand. He was ready to slice through stone. The metal traced a clean line through the rock. Chunks of stone cracked and shattered with a crash. The golem's body staggered and fell. A notification appeared, you have defeated the stone golem. The weapon's residual blade image faded from his hand. The deity's emergency forging, the crescent blade, vanished. System messages poured in, you have leveled up. Hyansu looked up, exhaled in relief, his level had increased by 14. Far away, someone was stunned, incredulous. He actually beat it. Hyansu smiled, wasn't everyone helping to take it down? A player with a mage interface shouted, with such a gap, how are we supposed to beat it? The main goal is survival. The trial was meant to have 3 stages from the start, but he ruined them all. They won't spawn those things for us now. Hyansu nodded slightly, I see. Suddenly dizziness hit, ears ringing. His body wavered and collapsed. Vision spiraling, murmurs mixing with the commotion. Did he faint? There's no sign of logging out, are we just leaving him there? Is the tournament still on? More importantly, how many weapons does that guy use? Thought he was versatile but turns out he's a weapon master, insane. Getting any one of those would be amazing. At that moment, Bell shouted loudly, attention all contestants. Due to an error by the organizers, today's martial tournament will end here. The dispersal call echoed throughout the arena. The screen dimmed, and Hyansu still lay there. Live commentary flooded the feed, what the hell just happened? Can't believe he beat it. Does anyone have a replay? An arrow lay on the ground. Engraved on it was, Hyansu. The audience was stunned. This name is the one who crafted the irreparable item in the sand territory before. Messages flooded in, crazy. He's a smith. There's no way a smith is this strong. Those items are terrifying. In the customer service room, typing and complaints rang out. Why was the Gozat tournament halted? The headset-wearing agent forced a smile, sorry, that's an internal decision of the Kingdom of Gozat, we cannot answer. On the other end, what's with that level, 100 plus golems suddenly appearing? Planning to let us die? The agent could only repeat the apologetic answer helplessly, tears in their eyes. Outside, many remained skeptical, but viewers at home could only watch in astonishment. Cut to elsewhere, the bespectacled woman smiled faintly, eyes bright with curiosity and excitement. Wow, Captain, something big happened. What are you whining about now, long hair? I'm busy. She turned and said, the Gozat tournament was cancelled. We knew that, whatever. She continued, not that. Ba Jiak has just summoned the user Hyansu. Long hair spat coffee from her mouth, leaping up, what? Just cleaning up the tournament wasted time, and they're meeting right now. She added, Hyansu is being brought to the palace to pay respects. Long hair held her forehead, it's ruined, staying up all night again. She muttered, I just want to go home. Long hair despaired, same here, this user is beyond normal, I can't predict anything. The bespectacled woman added, indeed. And what if Hyunsu fulfills Ba Jiak's request and reaches maximum affinity? Long hair replied, he will become the strongest smith and at the same time master the Sword King's techniques. Of course it's not easy, it also depends on Ba Jiak's decision. She added, suddenly feeling worried, right? Long hair snapped, don't say more. Cut to the next day. Hyunsu entered the great hall, thinking to himself that he had met Ba Jiak earlier than expected. A deep voice boomed from the throne, traveler, hear me. By tradition, I would grant rewards publicly, but due to yesterday's incident, please understand the need for a simplified ceremony. As a master weaponsmith, everyone has witnessed your accomplishments. Let us honor this warrior. The reward is 13,000 gold. He knelt and thanked his majesty. But he said, Your Majesty, I heard you were seeking me. The red eyes paused briefly. What? A guard barked, how presumptuous. No matter how rare, you must not speak so arrogantly. How dare you? His Majesty has not finished speaking. There's no way His Majesty was seeking you. He looked up calmly, I am Hyunsu the smith. The guard requested orders, Your Majesty, I beg pardon, we will eject him at once. Ba Jiak raised his hand, stop. He is the guest I have been waiting for. He lifted his head and replied, my journey here was rather difficult as well. Ba Jiak added, so, do you know why I summoned you here? The protagonist answered immediately, Your Majesty, you summoned me to commission the forging of a sword, correct? His red gold gaze flashed, indeed, and moreover what I wish to commission is something that even the best smiths in this kingdom have been unable to make. Even the top smiths failed, and the master of the sword tower has also been defeated. He closed his eyes for a moment and then opened them, his voice lowering. The red aura around him flared, his gaze heavy like scorching intent. I want to know why I should trust you. An imposing pressure descended like a wall of fire. He gritted his teeth, a soft hiss escaped, then he spoke each word slowly and clearly. Only one thing. I came all the way here solely because I believe in my craft. The corner of Ba Jiak's mouth tilted up. Then he suddenly burst into loud laughter, his guffaw echoing through the great hall. Haha, bold foreigner, very well, bring what you have prepared. The steward startled and replied, yes, Your Majesty. Moments later, he hurried out onto the red carpet, carrying a large jar which he placed before him. Ba Jiak looked at the protagonist and said softly, I will wager on your confidence. When the jar was opened, a cold blue light flared, revealing a block of cold blue metal inside. A notification read, 100-year forged iron, a special mineral kept chilled for exactly 100 years, highly fire-resistant and possessing pure ice attributes. The protagonist whispered, even minerals from martial tales have appeared. He stood before the jar, eyes brightening, squinting and nodding slightly. Ba Jiak's golden gaze took on a stern expression. Conversely, if you disappoint me, you will never set foot in the kingdom of Gozat again. A system prompt lit up before him, Royal Commission, S rank. Reward, 1 arbitrary request. Failure, expelled from Gozat. Description, Sword King Ba Jiak commissions the forging of a sword. He smirked, thinking, this is my chance to demand anything from Ba Jiak. He straightened, placed a hand on his chest, I will absolutely not let you down. I will do it at any cost. He vowed inwardly he would not fail, though sweat dotted his brow, his voice was steady. Afternoon light slanted through the wooden frame as the protagonist entered the workshop. As he laid out his tools he noticed a gaze fixed on him. Beside him, a female engineer stood with arms crossed against the wall, silently watching. No info appeared. Kingdom of Godat Deputy Engineer Commander Bila, Level 301. He exhaled lightly, thinking, even though I'm an outsider, it's only natural they'd assign someone to keep an obvious watch. Then brushed the thought aside. Bila spoke softly, are we being that obvious? Just pretend I'm not here and focus on your work. He scratched his cheek and smiled, alright, fine. I'll do as you say. Bla's expression hardened as she thought, His Majesty has given him a chance, don't fail. She closed her eyes and frowned under the weight of responsibility. What a burden. He took a deep breath and told himself, just pretend Bila isn't standing there. Just then, a green notification popped up and the doorbell rang. He froze, huh? Then turned to Bila, hey, something's up in my real life. can I go check for a moment? She merely crossed her arms and nodded very slightly in silence. The screen went dark. In the small room in real life, the doorbell chimed rapidly. He sprang up from his chair, shuffled to the door, coming. The door opened, and the landlady exclaimed in surprise, "Oh, Hyunsu, you're home." He bowed his head, "Hello, ma'am." For a moment he was taken aback. "Huh, the landlady." Then he asked softly, "Is something the matter?" The landlady fidgeted, "I've decided to sell this apartment. Lately my husband has been out of work, so I hope you'll help clear the place." "I'm sorry, dear." He looked around and smiled. "Don't apologize. I'm the one who should apologize because you rented to me below market rate, and I've even been late on rent several times. So when do you need me to move out?" she asked. "Within 2 weeks," she replied. She apologized again. He bowed his head, "Please don't say that. I've truly lived well here." The door closed. He exhaled, 2 weeks, huh? He ran some calculations through his mind. Buying back the nearly burnt-down smithy had cost 330 million gun. Although he'd earned a decent amount in Aries, he had already transferred several thousand gold to pay his father's medical bills. His own burn treatments hadn't even begun. Where will I live now? Just then, his phone buzzed, the screen showing the name Kim Hyun. He mumbled, "Is that Neo?" Then answered. "Hello." Her voice came through, "Hyunsu, what are you doing?" "I just had a great idea for the current mission so I called right away." He said over the phone, "I heard rumors you lost your memory. Are you okay?" Neo replied, "I'm perfectly fine now. You tell me, do you have any suggestions?" "I have something that could help her remember everything." Immediately, she frowned, annoyed. "Hyunsu." He naively asked, "What's with your tone?" Neo shouted loudly over the phone, making him freeze, "I've been looking forward to this mission a lot. Through this mission, I expect 2 major effects." He asked back, "2 effects?" Neo explained, "Right now people are debating whether the Gozat champion and the Smith Hyunsu are the same person. If you're not ready to reveal your identity, keep it secret and unleash it when you found the guild. Also, NPC Hyonu is one of the most influential figures in Aries. You just got commissioned by Ba Jiak to forge a sword. Now is the time to raise your value. I believe in you and will accompany you." He clenched his fist and lowered his voice, "Thanks, Neo. Because of you I snapped out of it, I'll do my best." She added, "Yes, that spirit." After a while, the protagonist logged back into the game. As soon as he manifested, Bila grabbed and pulled him back. "Wait, why are you only back now?" He turned and asked, "Did something happen?" "What happened?" Bila said quickly, "His Majesty has been isolated inside the fire dragon's lair." He swallowed dryly, sweat beading at his temples. "Isolated? Has His Majesty encountered trouble?" Bila frowned, "Were you rushing to heal?" "It sounded serious so I reacted that way." She clenched her fists, lowering her voice but speaking firmly. "There is no time, I'll be brief. The fire dragon's nest is the collective name for the territory of fire-type monsters. Within it, Dungeon YZ has never had anyone survive and return, except His Majesty Ba Jiak." He frowned, "Then why did he go into a place he'd already been to without first receiving the weapon he commissioned me to make?" Bila lowered her voice, "Because His Majesty's object of vengeance is inside." He repeated, surprised, "An object of vengeance?" The scene shifted to the fire dragon's nest, a sea of lava erupting. Ba Jiak gripped his sword tightly, charging through walls of flame. Gritting his teeth, "It's almost time." He leaned his back against a rock before the fiery gate, breathing heavily. He only needed to step through that gate. But this time that sword would not have that capability. He rubbed his forehead and looked at the blazing entrance, thinking to himself, "At least the companions who went with me retreated safely. Even if we summon reinforcements, they'll take 3 days to arrive." The sword hadn't yet been received from that traveler. I should have waited for him to finish forging it. If only my son Ban were still alive. Ba Jiak's eyes half closed, his breath scorching. Hyunsu. The image of Ban rose in his memory. The boy was about the same age as the traveler, his smile bright. Then the scene of armor soaked in blood, lips trembling as he called for his father. A choked roar rose in Ba Jiak's throat. "Ban, Ban. Why did you come here without saying a word?" Ba Jiak knelt and supported his dying son. Ban whispered, his eyes losing their light, I thought if I could conquer this dungeon, I'd be the son who would make you proud. But I wasn't strong enough. I'm sorry. Ba Jiak shook his head, holding that shoulder tightly. Don't apologize to me. I only want you to live. Ban trembled and whispered, I'm truly sorry, father. And before he finished, his hand went limp. Ba Jiak gripped him tightly, shouting repeatedly, Ban. Wake up, Ban. Darkness fell, the specks of light dissolving like a final breath. In reality, Ba Jiak gritted his teeth. I should have waited until the traveler brought the sword. In the forge bathed in dusk, Bila stood opposite the protagonist. Her voice low, her eyes worried. Since the prince died, His Majesty has done everything to capture YPHC, but it refuses to show itself. Perhaps this is His Majesty's last chance. Honestly, it's hard for me to trust a stranger like you, but there must be a reason His Majesty entrusted this to you. She suddenly bowed deeply to him, her voice urgent and slightly trembling. As a citizen of the Go Kingdom and as a knight, I beg you, please save His Majesty. A quest board lit up before him. Emergency quest, sword to save the king, S rank. Condition, you accepted BLA's request. Reward, increased trust of Ba. Failure, Ba Jiak's death. Description, Sword King Ba is trapped in the tomb of YZ. Forge a sword powerful enough to rescue him. He thought to himself, I never knew Ba Jiak had fallen into that state. Back then, I almost lost everything to that damned fire. If I had lost my family like Ba Jiak did, could I still go on living as I do now? His hand tightened, the forge's glow casting a calm but resolute look across his face. He looked up and replied succinctly, I'll do my best. The hammer rose high, slicing the air. The first strike fell on the anvil, beginning the forging of the king's rescue sword. The red-hot billet sparked on the anvil, hammer after hammer stretching the blade. The steel flashed brilliantly and was plunged into the water. Steam rose in clouds. He looked at the smoking blade and thought, YZ's heat can melt even unique-grade weapons. So I must craft a blade beyond that tier, focusing on a non-melting effect. Using ice as the core attribute, a blue radiance burst in his hands, his understanding of 100-year cold steel deepened, cold spreading through the workshop as the smith's soul awakened. The hammer fell again, ice bones shattering. The blade drew in cold vapor and continued to be forged. Frost spiraled throughout the forge, blue light blanketing the floor. A notification appeared. You are the most immersed while forging this sword. Sweat beaded. Another line appeared, passion, determination, and empathy have driven you into a state of self-forgetfulness. He continued swinging the hammer, the blade brimmed with cold light, halos coiling around the sword. A flashing message, Hyunsu's first legendary grade sword is being forged. A burst of light exploded, metal ringing against the roof. Bila sprang forward in alarm, eyes wide. Is it finished? The protagonist turned his back and lifted the sword, emitting an ice-blue glow like a reverse-flowing stream. His gaze calm yet resolute. Let's go, to rescue His Majesty Ba Jiak. Cut to the scene, a terrifying pillar of fire erupted, blocking Ba Jiak's path. The heat lashed the rock face, he roared in pain. Staggering amid flames and smoke, he collapsed to the ground. His eyes blazing red, he gritted his teeth, end this today. From the depths of the lair, firelight coalesced into a gigantic form wielding a flaming halberd. A shrill laugh echoed, and a blazing red notification appeared, Reborn Fire YZ Nest, Level 409.